Thanks for having us. This one goes out to all the commanders out there. It's called Victory. I hope y'all like it. 1, 2, 3, let's kick it.
And welcome again, everybody, or welcome back, I should say. Thanks for joining or coming back. After I just had the long stream with Bruce, I hope that some of you at least found that useful, entertaining, helpful. I heard that apparently I am now a Frontier shill and I am a Frontier apologist. Right? I've completely changed my tune. Yes, that's true. I have no negative feet. No, that's not fucking true at all. Yes, I was polite to Bruce because, of course, I was polite to Bruce. He was a guest. I want him to come back. I want him to hear our feedback. It's the old adage of some people hear better through a whisper than a scream. I felt like it was very good. I chatted with him a little bit afterwards. He definitely seemed interested in coming back, said he would like to in the future. That was my hope. My primary goal with that also was to express our thoughts and feelings around some of the features, around some of the mechanics that we disagree with. And while I didn't get to everything that was on my list, and I do wish I probably would have jumped to Fleet Cares a little sooner than I did. Beyond that, it went exactly as I expected and what I was hoping for. And so hopefully everybody got that out of it as I did. Now let's jump to where we won't necessarily be so kind. And if anybody thinks I am a shill for Frontier, this will probably shatter that opinion pretty quickly. As I'm joined by a group of us to kind of dissect all this, I'm going to play a little more panel moderator for this one than I did last one. And I'm just going to run down the list because I think we've got everybody here. I'll start and just as I go through, let you guys introduce yourselves, what your channels are about, who you are and stuff. And I'll start right off the top of the list because he's right at the top of the list I see right now with Commander Plater. Welcome, Plater. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm having a lovely Good Friday. It's been lovely weather here in the UK to be stuck inside. So I am Commander Plater. I have a YouTube channel, Twitch channel. I am also into other sci-fi games as well, but you'll mainly find me, hopefully, producing well-balanced opinion pieces, apart from when I doggedly get hold of something and decide I'm right and other people are wrong. And sometimes I'm actually the wrong one. So, but yeah, that's me. Also, I did this charity stream a while back and raised loads of money and stuff. I did that. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's great. Well, welcome, my friend. Next up, Commander Ascorbius. Say hi, Scorb.
Hey, hi, Scorb. Right. So, the reason that Exedius is going to sit back and be a moderator in all of this is because he's a massive shill. I'm Commander Ascorbius. I make try to make comedy videos and stuff like that, mostly with lots of CGI and things like that. But yeah, I also stream and have opinions on things. So thanks to you guys for having me.
Yeah, your most recent wasn't exactly comedy and just animation, was it?
No.
Yeah, not
it's
at
very
all.
lazy.
And by the way, if you guys like Scorb, for example, if you can get that link to one of the moderators, they're happy to paste in the link to that video. In fact, if you guys wouldn't mind, I'd love that. That'd be great. And you guys know who I am, so I'm going to skip on to Gluttony Fang. Say hi, Gluttony.
Hello. Of course, I am Gluttony Fang, founder of the Anti-Xeno Initiative, and I've recently come to know that Exedius has become a massive show for Frontier. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm more than happy to be on this stream.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. Next up, we have someone who is, the massive non-shill. We're going to get to at the end. But next is Ryan M17. Tell the folks who you're with, Ryan, or maybe were with is the proper way. You tell me.
Yeah, so I'm a semi-professional PUBG player. I just recently saw a PC Gamer article about Elite, so I joined the subreddit, got invited to this thing. I don't really know why I'm here. So nice for you guys to have me.
In seriousness, he is a long time player, so no, we joke, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been out of the game for a little bit due to some opinions that I will be expressing shortly. But I used to play Elite a lot, used to PvP a lot, and that's basically it.
And let's see, last is the all-powerful Yamiks. Say hi, Yamiks.
Well, hello there, folks. Well, I usually try to do some sort of a joke intro and whatnot else, but no, on serious. Sort of the first attempt at a more realistic thing, I guess. So, well, hello there. I am your resident Latvian content creator, sometimes streamer, do things, with rather humoristic take videos, but well, these days just generally commentary stuff that is well, sometimes too critical, overly critical. Yeah, essentially,
Sometimes it's right on the money.
Well, yeah. Basically, I take no shit nor give no shit. So yeah, or maybe just give a lot. I don't know.
And
But he
I,
does
guys,
have killer dreads.
he does have killer dreads. If you guys have not ever seen a face real
I have
Yamiks,
no idea what you're talking about.
somebody
That's
needs to find that
stuff.
picture, right?
No idea what you're talking about.
I'm
Absolutely,
curious.
it's just a corporeal form that manifests when the Yamiks just needs to appear at one.
That's
place or
what it
another.
is. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly. That's totally an excuse, or I mean, a reason. Yes.
Gotcha. And I just quickly am floating in, I'm in my fleet carrier floating around Midland Hollow, which is the moon that orbits the Earth like New Africa once every 90 seconds. I came out here because I thought this would be pretty interesting place to put a carrier and get some B-roll. So if you guys see an Earth like zooming by in the background every so often, that's why. And actually, interestingly, it's really difficult to land on your fleet carrier when you put it here because it screams along so quickly. The only way to do it is to hit get in front of Midland and hit it head on, get in its gravity well, and then fly around to your carrier. I found you can't just fly straight to your carrier and drop on it. So I'm also hoping because yeah,
Just
go
made
ahead.
me think of something. Is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
possible for the moon around Mitron Hollow to smack into your carrier?
No, you stay right in a fixed orbit of it, right? And so you move with it. In fact, I got some B-roll from out in Super Cruise where you could see, the signal source for my carrier just screaming around New Africa in referential frame to, to the moon, Midland Hollow, right? So yeah, no, it doesn't do it that good, but it does make for some nice, as folks are seeing right now, some kind of pretty fast orbits around this planet. So let's see. Why don't we jump right in? Do we want to start? What do you guys want to start with? Do we want to start with kind of the new thing we all learned about recently, as in the last day or so, around the decommissioning costs and debt? Who wants to start? I don't want to necessarily.
I feel like that's like starting at the end. I feel like.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just figured that's something new.
Once your carrier is decommissioned, you ain't ever going to be buying another one. That's for sure.
Well, sometimes you go ass first, right? So we can start there, or we can start at the top. In fact, you know what, Plater? I was going to toss it to you first anyway, since you haven't joined us for this conversation yet, and I haven't spoken with you in a while, actually. Where would you like to kick us off with anything, or do you want to kick off with kind of maybe your general thoughts, since I haven't heard specifically? We've chatted some in text, but
I'd probably say jump straight in with like the initial. Here we are. How many days are we? 3 days?
3 days. Yeah.
3 full days of having carriers available to us and kind of first impressions where I start. And if I were to sum it up very quickly, would be fleet carriers. I love the pitch from Frontier. I love the idea, what Frontier are saying with regards to how it could work, how it should work, all the gameplay that's involved. My kind of key issue with it is that I don't see any of that happening because of pricing. And also, there's a little bit of rigidity in there with regards to your loadouts, your packs that you can buy, that really do kind of tie you down a little bit more than they should do. It's obviously, I know Frontier are taking feedback, but my initial kind of thoughts are that we probably shouldn't have been presented what we have been presented in its current state. We probably should have been given something a little bit more generous to start off with. And, obviously we've got what we've got, and I don't personally, in their current state, again, it's important. This is the first beta, things could change, that it's not fit for purpose. That's where I am.
That's you guys didn't hear obviously, for those that didn't hear the stream that I just had with Bruce, one of the things that we kind of ended with, and if they do this, I stressed it to him even after the stream that I think this would be a really great exercise, is we kind of ended toward the end on asking Frontier the question of, what do you guys think these are for? Like, where do you guys think we should be using them and how? And while this is a sandbox, and part of that answer might be, well, here's a tool of the sandbox, you guys go figure out something to do with it. Frontier should be have some idea of what these, what we would be using these for. Look, it's, you give us weapons, of course we're going to shoot each other. You give us exploration mechanics, we're going to go explore. But what do you feel like these have given us? And his response to that was to go back, talk to the team, and he wasn't on the spot that I'm expecting him to absolutely do this, but I'm hoping they do, to post something to us saying, hey, we've heard the question of what the hell am I, even if you get past all the upkeep costs and the expenses and the credits, and if these things were free, what would we be doing with them, right? And so he indicated that he would go back to the team and discuss that, and the hopes is that they would come back to us with some sort of answer to that question. So maybe we kick around that. If we took out the upkeep cost and we took out all of these credits, what would we do with them? Scorbius, did you want to take that?
Yeah, well, I think though it's kind of that question was answered months ago, because they sent out promotional information, and they got people to make videos about them, as you will have this great fleet carrier, you'll be able to play with your friends, you'll be able to load your ships up, fly out to wherever you need to be, and deploy your pressure, your force wherever you need it to be. And there was no mention of things like, oh yeah, but you got to pay upkeep. Well, they can. Oh, they did say they can only jump 500 light years, but it's okay. That's fine. They'll need a special fuel. We were told that as well. So we didn't know whether we'd have to buy it or mine it or synthesize it with mats. Thank goodness they didn't do that. But they gave us enough information for us to form our ideas on what we wanted to do with them. And when we get them, most of those ideas are in the bin now, because we can't do what we wanted to do with them. Because of a few small problems, because of this thing about like the time pressure, that's the thing that's got me riled right now. The time pressure, where if I have to step away from the game, let's say a member of my family is ill in South Korea, and I have to travel there to go spend time with them, and I can't play Elite because I'm spending time with my family. I'm away for weeks. I will lose everything. I don't think that's fair, and that was never mentioned. That's currently my take at the moment. So. Who else wants to?
Well, when I
I'll just talk all night. I will. I'm so fired up by this.
When I see Yamiks, and maybe if we want to kick it to him, if somebody else wants to raise their hand, great. As Yamiks just typed, "Damn, Scorb has taken my words," right? And that does say a lot. I think of everybody here, probably Scorbius is the least critical, or the least likely.
I tend to go more meta with things, but that's a good player perspective explanation of that. Same principles. Yeah. Ryan.
So go right ahead, Ryan. And just, if you guys want to raise your hand in the channel, if you just type junk, if you type anything, Scorb, type to peer, whatever, I'll call on you. So yeah, Ryan, what's your take?
I'm going to take a slightly less optimistic stance to this.
Oh, join the club.
Yeah. This is now a pattern of behavior for Meth, right? Where you roll out a good initial idea, and then every single revealed step afterwards fucks it up more and more and more and more until release happens, and it's nowhere near what was initially pitched, what was initially promised, and then it gets abandoned again. And we've seen this multiple times. Power play. Engineers for the first
multi-crew is the greatest example.
2 to 3 years of its life.
I use all the time.
Multi-crew, CQC, right? It's a pattern of behavior at this point. And the initial idea was great, squadron based. It makes sense, right? You have your whole squadron load in. You have a guild bank in the fleet carrier to manage costs. Other people can drop stuff off to help the ship run, to help it make jumps. And then what happened? There was a forum dad crying session that fucked it all up, because people were salty that, oh, my two-person squadron won't be able to own a fleet carrier. Oh my God, this horrible personal persecution, right? And then FDev goes, oh, yep, sorry about that. Everyone gets to own one now. But then that completely eliminates any gameplay loop that would be useful for it, right? So like you roll out, okay, how are they supposed to be used? you can't fucking take them out of the bubble because the costs are too great and they take too long to jump and they take too long to refuel. You can't use them in the bubble because when you buy it, bone stock, it doesn't have a fucking shipyard. It doesn't have a shipyard stock. A fleet carrier as a concept comes without a shipyard. It's like going to a fucking Honda dealership and buying a Civic without an engine and no wheels on it. Like it makes no like it's what I've said this a bunch of times. I'll try to contain a little bit of my frustration. So let me start us off with some praise. Audio guys, art guys, fucking killing it, right? They're probably the single best team at FDev, bar none, right? I don't think there's any competition. It is not the programmer's fault. It's not the developer's fault. This is a failure of management from start to finish, right? The devs only make what management tells them to make, right? Nobody in management, and I will not be convinced otherwise, nobody in management plays the game or talks to somebody that plays the game. I will not be convinced otherwise. Because if they did, this would not have even made it out of the first meeting. You cannot convince me otherwise. I will not be convinced. Someone else can go now.
Yeah, no, Plater, you wanted to respond to that.
Yeah, I kind of want to jump in because it's something Yamiks prompted me to think of. Actually, was in FX 2017. We were presented the idea of them being squadron carriers, and there wasn't a single. I've got to remember that on my channel I don't say rude things.
You're not well. If you're on your channel too, great. But you're on my channel. You can say maybe there's some leeway since you're also on my channel.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I mean,
Somebody did a poo poo.
Oh, no.
There wasn't a flaccid penis in the house, you know. And they were so excited about the idea, right? And they just thought, oh my god, we're going to get these carriers. They're going to be amazing. They're going to be what? We're going to do all this stuff. Now, I was at FX as a guest from Frontier. They invited me along to stream, and they invited me to the developers' breakfast the day after as well. So went over there, sat down, myself and Greatest from the broadcast. We're sitting there and we're talking to Sandro and Adam Woods, and we're talking about the idea of these carriers and what they might do and how they might work. At that point in 2017, everything was pure concept, zero development whatsoever.
They didn't even have a single screenshot or concept art to show us back then.
They also didn't, at that point, they had made no decisions regarding to could they be upgraded, could they change their facilities. Adam Wood said that, I like the idea of, you and your friends, you club together to maybe, put a shipyard on it so you can buy more ships, or, you can buy your own outfitting from your own carrier. That was as far as it had got in, was that October 2017? And then we got presented this is the fleet carrier, this is what it looks like. We had that teaser trailer back for, what was that? Well, that was Gamescom, wasn't it? That we got that and got to look at it and be like, cool, that's great. Then we got some more details and we got this pitch telling us that we'd have these, have the support ships and you'd have your loadouts you could pick, and it would be like, this is like, your piracy one, your mining one, all that kind of stuff.
It was
LaveCon. Was it LaveCon?
Yeah, they failed. Basically, they released the trailer before they got to announce it in LaveCon. I remember asking Paige, what the fuck happened? Why did you release this before?
Oh, yeah.
Before releasing the information, remember?
That was actually from another media channel that released it that shouldn't have done.
No, it wasn't their official, I think.
No.
There was a news outlet that did it. They released it early.
Yeah.
Because Will was running around like going, what the, oh my god, no.
Yeah. But yeah, so that happened, and then we kind of got the details came out where they we got to look at those fancy blue screenshots, and it showed everything, and we found out with the support ships. And again, everything's still quite positive at this point, because we're not getting one new asset, which is just a carrier. We're getting these support ships as well. What gameplay is going to be around them? And this is where I think things changed. I think that at that point, when we received the fact there would be a delay in the fleet carrier delivery by basically 6 months, is that they just went, we can't make this work. And I do think it's a technical thing rather than a design decision, that it's we can't get this to work the way that we want. And because of that, this is why we have carriers as they are, that it was essentially put on hold. They had to scrap certain things, dial some things back, put in new things that weren't originally going to be there, and then bam, we have got fleet carriers in their current state. And it's probably not what people originally had in mind, but it's what they could get to work in the time they had. Discuss.
I got one.
I mean, it's a pretty good theory, as in
Roll guide.
how everything ended up being the way they are. But I think instead of speculating on what caused the current, well, relatively unwell state of the carrier and too much of the dissatisfaction of a lot of parts of the community, I think we should probably discuss what can we do with what
Yeah.
we have, and what do people see as reasonable changes that can happen to make this still relatively better than what it is presented to us right now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit with
if
you there, Gluttony. I mean, now that said, Yamiks raised his hand, and I dare to call on him, given he just said conspiracy, carrier conspiracy. Are you just echoing that, Yamiks, or do you have something to share?
Oh, no. Here's a history, right? So 2017, I meet Plater for the first time in Frontier Expo. It was wonderful. I meet Ascorbius, even not knowing that was Ascorbius. Yeah, Yamiks is dumb. But on a serious note, though, yeah, we basically get announced Squadrons, the Beyond whole series, and of course the fleet carriers. And for Squadrons, we have just that picture of just equally painted, paint job laden ships, and I'm thinking, okay, is it a guild system? Even with that, they didn't answer any question later on. It's just, what is that? Is that a guild system? Is that a squad group? Is that a wing increasement or something? At least I didn't get any answers. Maybe later on got, but yeah, the thing is, and for fleet carriers, it was just there was no pictures, no nothing, no information, just a nebulous fleet carrier title in the air hanging. No one knows what that is. And at that point, it smelled like literally somebody a week before the whole decided, oh, hey, I'm just gonna, release essentially, or rather, we need a wow factor for the Beyond. Everyone wants big ships, the fleet carriers, yeah. Well, let's go with that, yes. And that conceptually happened. Of course, I'm looking from the outside in, right? So I'm might be missing a couple of steps there, but regardless, it's essentially just it didn't feel like it had even an idea what that was, and probably programmers over at Frontier were thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? What is this? Basically like Anthem. Essentially like Anthem happened, right? 8 years in development, and yet basically the work was done like literally last year or so before the release. And like, okay. And the same thing happens right now, right? They decided to give everyone the fleet carrier rather than being it attached to squadrons, and that felt like another change. And obviously, yeah, there could be reasons for it, but it was half baked back then. It didn't have a direction throughout its whole development, what it seemed like from the little information that we've gotten. So, I mean, what much you can't really make something good out of something as half cooked as that. That's the thing. So, yeah, that's at least my conspiracy theory, that they didn't really have direction throughout the whole development. And obviously, just like Ryan perfectly said, that it's complete fault of management, and the fact that they don't know what the hell are they doing half of the time, it seems.
Yeah, and just to comment on that real quick, one of the things that when Bruce and I talked earlier today, I said was, it's not. Ooh, I'm getting a pretty wicked echo from somebody. Check. Gluttony, I'm getting that from you, buddy.
Let me
Thank them at Gluttony.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Was that, like I didn't want to yell at him clearly, right? It's the manager effect, right? You don't yell at the cashier, you yell at the manager.
He's there to communicate
Right.
stuff,
Exactly.
obviously, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I agree that the problem has been, and I am optimistic and hopeful that we're seeing a little bit of a shift in that, somebody after 2 years of doing this, somebody from Frontier joined me for a stream to talk to me, right? Somebody joined joined Lave Radio, Steven, or Dav and Luke joined Lave Radio, Steven joined Burr Pit, right? This is something new and is a big change that is something that I'm trying to encourage. I sent Will an email about it saying this is fantastic. In fact, I'll say that I emailed Will and asked if there was any chance I could have somebody from the audio team join me sometime, right? Given how amazing the audio team is, I would love to talk to one of those guys, right? So I think that the core issue here is getting this message and the right people at Frontier listening to us, right? I think it was Yamiks that said it's not the developer's fault down in the trenches doing it, right? It's the guy, it's the leader of it. It's the product managers, right? It's the game
Well,
designer.
there is more to it, but yeah, this particular situation where there's no seeming direction, it's
Exactly.
obviously the person that steers the ship. For fuck's
That's right. That's right. That's
I,
right.
I never thought I would say this, but I want Sandro back.
Oh
well,
my god!
I want
Are you okay?
someone that is loving the game, right? Scorb, I had you in the queue next. What did you have? I didn't mean to
All right,
skip
I wanted
over
to just add something about a lot. When I say a lot of the comments that I've had on my most recent video have been about we totally agree that there's something majorly wrong. Some of the comments I'm getting though are about they've had all this time to get this right.
It's been 2.5 years.
Yeah, that 2.5 years since they were first announced to now, and why is it so undercooked? Let's bear something in mind. They probably haven't been developing fleet carriers for all that time. It's probably been a project that they started, and then they realized that the game needed shoring up massively, which is when they did that big bug fix push. So they shelved it. And then they had a big chat about it. Well, we don't think that the gameplay is probably going to be where we're going. That's me just guessing. But then they picked it up again because they didn't have any content for us. So they said, yeah, fleet carriers are coming. They're coming. Yes, they are. How's the fleet carrier thing going? Oh, we haven't touched it. I don't think they've spent 2 years on this. I think it got parked. I think they did some other work. And then I think they picked it up again, had to refactor a bunch of stuff to get it working. They altered all the modeling, and they had some ideas in a boardroom where they tried to figure some stuff out. And this is what we've got now. They haven't spent all that time on this. And I think anybody who thinks that... Because if they'd spent 2.5 years on this particular feature, it would be mind-blowing. It'd be mind-blowing. Yeah. There's so many half-baked ideas that they just put out. It's all right, that's fleet carriers. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's how... that breaks my heart. They haven't put as much thought into it. They've had loads of time, it seems, but they haven't put as much thought into it as people would think. And that breaks my heart. And I shall yield the rest of my time.
Ryan, did you have a comment on that specifically? I know Yamiks has got something he wanted to get in specific on that.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is I would agree with you that I just don't see how they've spent all that time working on this, and this is the product. But my question would be then what the fuck have they been doing? Because it's not none of that work is visible in the game, right?
Well, we know what they've been doing. They're working on the end of year content.
I mean, that's what it's seemingly, right? Yeah.
So that's what we've been told, but we've been told things before, right? I would say go ahead.
I can't see them lying. I can't see them lying about that. So I think we must give them the benefit of the doubt on that.
So I think you're a little more trusting of FDev than I am. And through completely different experiences that both of us have had with them as a company and during this, what I would say is that I think I don't think that it's one of two things. Either they don't have as many resources on the game as they're telling everyone that they did. The 100 developer meme, right?
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
Or they don't know how to prioritize work, because if No Man's Sky can crank out the stuff that they do with a
Yeah.
team a fraction
Wow.
of the size,
Wow.
there's
Yeah.
no excuse.
Oh,
There's no excuse for F.
compliments. So
Like like that is the perfect example of a game that went from probably the worst possible state that you could release a
Worst
game in.
launch in the history of gaming, potentially.
Yeah, I don't
Right?
like
Oh,
maybe ET
ET?
on fucking Atari. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No,
Since
ET didn't have that hype behind.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly,
ET didn't
right?
have that
So
bad a
it's-
launch. It just was the worst game in history, right?
Yeah, so you're right. It's No Man's Sky is actually worse.
I mean,
The
there
lo-
were
the-
death threats, like straight up, we're going to kill you because you lied to us, right? Like the worst launch in gaming history. From that to now, the game's phenomenal. It's not the game for me, but if I say this a lot, if I could take like the flight mechanics of Elite, if I could take an FDL and plop it into No Man's Sky, I might not ever play Elite again because that would be amazing given the shit that No Man's Sky has gotten compared to us.
Exactly. And so my point is, right? It's one of two possible paths, right? Either they haven't truly committed the manpower that they said they did, or maybe it was a slight distortion. 100 developers at one point, and maybe not 100 developers anymore, right? Because I think they said that like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Or they're not managing their time properly, right? Because really think long and hard about what changes to the game have been made since Engineer's first drop, right? We got Thargoids abandoned. We got CQC abandoned. We got Multicrew launched and abandoned. We got Holomy launched and abandoned. What else? We got an engineer rework. We had an engineer rework that took them a year and came out fucked up so bad in the beta that we had to have a stream almost exactly like this to get it into a usable state.
Yep.
We got a mining rework. Okay. And we got more modules. Okay. Is that what 4 years? 4 years of development to cover that? That's an update that like let's say Massive from The Division that they would push out in a year. Right? That another company could potentially push out in a year or two. Right? So I'm just not seeing, and again, the next update, I'll say this with full ignorance of what's coming in the next update. But I mean, like everyone knows, right? It's going to be fucking space legs and probably atmospheric landings. But what do you guys think is going to be the gameplay loop from that? Because I'll tell you what I think it's going to be. Space legs will be, you get to walk around your ship. You can walk around some specific areas inside of stations that are skinned to match the decor of the specific area of space that you're in. So if it's Empire Station, you'll have Empire shit.
It'll be procedurally
And then-
generated, just like everything
Yeah,
else.
and then that's it. And they'll be like, guys, this is what we're launching with right now. Station interiors, you can explore your ship, and then down the line we're gonna roll out some more stuff, and it'll go the way of Multicrew. It'll go the way of all this other stuff because the game's not built around that. The game is built to be a spaceship flying game. That's it. And I know this has gotten off topic, but
Well, I was gonna say, I'd rather say
Yeah.
let's not jump into the gigantic thing that could be space legs. I will say, me personally, I agree with a lot of the sentiment you're getting at, right? Which is, I've been very vocal about not wanting space legs, right? I don't play Elite because I want to walk around. I play Elite because I want to fly a fucking
Yeah.
spaceship, right?
Yes.
And I worry that the only sort of gameplay around walking around is basically first-person shooter, kind of like Star Citizen is doing. And to
Yeah.
your point, I think you're getting at is I have no confidence Frontier can make a good first-person shooter, right? That's not what I want out of Elite. Right?
Engine is not made for anything
Right, exactly,
like that.
exactly.
networking isn't made for it.
Exactly, right? So
Oh,
rather than
God.
getting into
peer-to-peer shooter, that's
the
horrible.
huge ball of wax that would be next era and space legs, let's pull it back to this, right? Yamiks, if you've got something more on this and you want to jump in real quick, go ahead.
It's extra information. So Ascorbius was saying that they could have, mind you, right? That could have been shelved. The fleet carriers could have been shelved midway or something like that. Now, first, a bit of information, right? So in LaveX for LaveCon last year, I poked Zach, the director of publishing these days, and then asked him directly, just give me relative, percentage of how much of the team is working on the current updates and how much is working on, the next era thing. Just generally, just some sort of a figure, right? I was trying to pressure it out of him at least a little bit. It wasn't much pressure. I was just sort of begging for information, at least a little, right? And then he was courteous enough to give me a relative ballpark, right? Because let's remember that usually the audio guys tend to be thrown all over the place, especially with the company that the Frontier is that develops multiple games and artists as well, and so on and so forth. So the number varies, but it was a quarter of the team, quarter of the 100, so 25% of the team is working on the current updates, give or take, and rest are on to the next era. So we got 25 or so people working on the fleet carriers. And could fleet carriers be shelved? Well, the problem is with that idea that you see carriers were the main topic, mainliners, whatever you want to call it, of the whole Frontier Expo announcement. It was meant to be the main big thing, the culmination of Beyond, which it was intended to be at the end of Beyond. Um, and it got delayed. Then it got delayed and more. So that kind of speaks volumes of either A, how much they lied to us about how important that is, or implied too much about it, or, well, I don't know, really, frankly. It's just, again, fuck up after fuck up without communicating that they fucked up, essentially. It's just that sort of level of things, and it makes you question, especially considering that it was supposed to be that main line. So,
Yeah.
some
yeah.
food for thought.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try to spin us into a different direction here and take us, and if you guys don't want to do this or have any other thoughts, panel, jump in. But I think that what might be helpful is why don't we go through kind of each of the areas, and we can either do this in two ways. We can either kind of just let each of us go through our main issues and what we see as, I think, more importantly, what we see as the solutions to those issues, or we can kind of tackle each issue. Not this is what I'm planning to do, unless you guys disagree. Take each issue kind of one by one, talk through that issue, why we think the whatever the specific number or mechanic is bad, and specifically what we think would be a solution for it. So if you guys are cool with that approach, that's what I'm going to do. So shout out if you don't. Along those lines, why don't we talk about the first big one? In fact, when I asked Bruce about the feedback they've been getting, what was the biggest feedback they had gotten, he kind of giggled, and the answer was basically, what do you think it's been? And yes, it's been exactly what you think, which is upkeep costs. The question he asked to me was, kind of in a way, he kind of put it to me in terms of what do I think about upkeep. I actually asked him too, as a gamer, as somebody, and Obsidian threw this out to me to send to him, what did he think of it the first time that he had heard about it, right? And his basic answer was, and I'm kind of paraphrasing because I'm forgetting exactly, but that he understands the mechanic or the fact that, and I kind of get this, right? From a lore perspective, there's this massive ship. It is going to require some sort of upkeep. Like if you really bought this, you buy a house, it takes upkeep. You buy a car, it takes upkeep, things like that. He didn't comment on the numbers, but he also in no way defended the numbers. I said, well, if I'm being if my real answer, to be straight up clear, is I think upkeep should go away, period. Right? This is a video game. I kind of agree to Scorb's point in his video that we play games for fun. I don't play games to earn credits. And there's very little about earning credits in Elite that is actually fun. I don't hate mining, but I've done enough of it for 10 lifetimes. So if we look at upkeep, and I do think, okay, I mean, there's a certain level of upkeep I'm okay with. For me, that number is literally a tenth of what it is right now. The way I put it to Bruce was, it feels like whatever your chosen profession is, you should be able to earn the upkeep cost for this carrier in, I agree with, an hour of gameplay. And if you look at, say, the lowest profession right now that pays, and these are numbers that when you're like really banging it out, would be exploration. You can make 30 million an hour doing exploration. Feel free to jump in a sec, Yamiks. I'll put you on the list. Is
Bounty.
that upkeep? Well, what'd you say? Bounty hunting?
Yes.
Well, yeah, okay. So, and I did say that by bounty hunting, yes. By a combat, you can make more than 30 million an hour. Not a whole lot, but if you're doing massacre missions and things like that, you can do it with massacre missions, right? I've done as much as 50 via massacre missions. Now, straight up just bounty hunting,
Oh,
no.
that.
No, right.
Oh.
So I'm not saying bounty hunting. You're right, right. But I'm saying combat. Like if you're a combat guy, you can make that kind of money through combat, right? But sure, but hey, that's a valid argument that if it's bounty hunting and say that's what would you say bounty hunting 3 would
Bounty
be
hunting is 5 million
okay.
with decent ship, up to 7 million in Hazres.
Okay,
And
okay,
if you're going for the pirate zone, you need a wing, but then you can make about 10 million an hour.
okay, okay.
Give or take, obviously.
Okay,
Need to
so
take
let's
that
say, so then
into
let's use
consideration.
that number, right? Let's say, and that's honestly, that's where I'm going, right? If you take, a 10% of where it is now at a max of 147, you take a tenth of that, and we're around the 14, 15 million credit range. Okay, I can live with that. I don't love it. I don't like it even, right? But I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna grab a pitchfork and start screaming about it. There's other things that I'm gonna put my energy toward, right? But that's where this upkeep number needs to be if you're going to do everything, right? And so, so why don't we go through upkeep? I'm gonna with this kick it over to Gluttony. I have you in the queue next. Did you want to jump in on upkeep costs, or was that before I maybe picked the topic?
It was a bit wider of a topic discussion, but I can discuss upkeep as well. But
Okay.
I think I agree with the sentiment that you have in terms that upkeep, as much as we want to say, like you mentioned to Bruce on your previous stream, about how if it was a squadron commitment, then the shared cost would be more reasonable. And now that it seems to be pinned on a single commander, it seems that we need to revisit, or rather constantly observe, the amount of income imbalance between different professions and player choices that exist in the game, because we all can go out there and mine and get our 100 200 mil per hour, but that simply isn't achievable with other professions and whatnot. But I was thinking about talking in terms of the more general use of the fleet carrier, in terms of what we see it as being applicable with what's the current implementation of it. So the three major uses can really be broken down with three major feature of the game, so to speak: combat, trading, and exploration. I see that the fleet carrier to be used in terms of combat for operating in stationless, or stations that are very far away territory. So, for example, Thargoid combat, which is what my group is known for, it would be good for us to travel to Guardian Ruins beacons to gather material for the newcomers, for them to get their weapon unlocks, to travel to Witchhead Nebula to deal with incursions, which we really hope can come back, Frontier. Please, please, we're starving without Thargoids. And also to travel to Thargoid superstructures and farm cores to run events, or just to sightsee for our player base, so to speak. And in terms of that's for combat. So in terms of economical play with market manipulation, in terms of being able to price your own commodity and whatnot, it has no BGS effect, so that kind of turns the BGS player base away a bit. But for those who like to manipulate market for credit earning, they can take part in this. In terms of exploration, I remember that you mentioned how it doesn't have photography, which, it's a shame. But as Bruce has somewhat vaguely mentioned, that Frontier's idea is they want player base to come back to the human bubble to turn in every once in a while. So other uses for that can be for expedition bases, where people fly to different sectors of the galaxy to sightsee or do whatever it is that they're there to do, or jump chasms that has very low very sparse star density, so it's very difficult to navigate without like a super jump. So I
Sure.
can see that being helpful to the exploration community. But that is just to, in general, touching on what possible applications we can use with the carrier as it being the way it is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. So I've got scored back in the queue, and all that's great. Yeah, I agree with all that. Let's, if we can, guys. And I appreciate that you had jumped in the queue before I had changed the topic a bit. Let's go back, if we can, to the upkeep costs, and kind of as I said before, maybe also focus on, look, we've all bitched about them a lot. We all know that we all think they're awful. Let's go more to what we think the right answer is. And part of that right answer, if it's simply they should just go away, period, or if they are going to be there, because I think the likelihood of them just going away altogether is, I mean, we all know Frontier. I think that's very, very slim to hope for, even if we all agree we want that. Scorb, what are your thoughts on it?
Right, so on the upkeep costs, I think they need to go away. They need to completely go away, because anytime you've got some time pressure on a commander where they need to be playing the game, or they need to front load because they're going on holiday or something like that, I think that's a bad mechanism. I don't mind paying a fortune for these damn things. I don't mind earning the money and buying all of the little units and the little modules and things like that. I need to do my gameplay my way and enjoy it. What I don't want is to have to what is the one pillar of Elite Dangerous right now who can earn enough money to buy a fleet carrier? And it's the thing we've all been doing. We've all been grinding, and that's mining low temperature diamonds or void opals. And what did Frontier do? As soon as people were making so much bank that there was like turning the universe economy upside down, they altered the marketplace so that you'd have to go around and sell your diamonds elsewhere. So on the one hand, only way to earn a fleet carrier and to pay these excessive costs is to go mining. Only pillar that actually supports it. And on the other hand, they don't want you earning that money. They don't want you to be that rich. Make your damn mind up. So it's only the miners are going to do it. So bounty hunting can't do it. Certainly can't do it. Explorers having a laugh, right? Passenger missions close, maybe if you find the right route. If you tune in and Down to Earth Astronomy's found something, or you found something, or somebody has to find a get rich quick scheme that Frontier hates. Yet that's the only way to make the money. So upkeep costs can die in a fire. They need to go away. The ships can be as expensive as they need to be. The modules can be as expensive as they need to be. But upkeep costs can do one.
Well, tell us how you really feel, Scorb. Ryan, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think I'll be the voice of reason here.
Wait, what?
Said no one about Ryan ever. I mean, what?
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely. Look, I know my role, right? I think. So, here's my issue, right? Conceptually, upkeep costs don't make any fucking sense. How? So, the ship will not pay for itself. Everyone has already accepted that as
use a fleet carrier to pay for itself.
Yeah, and so like even if you were like some fucking stock market genius and you've got your Eve spreadsheets out, right, ready to manipulate the market, you still couldn't make it work, because who the fuck is ever going to go to your ship and buy stuff from it, right? How would they even know you? Yeah, exactly. How would they even know you were there, right? So putting all that upkeep, like, why would you ever put a commodities market there? Why would you ever try and sell anything on these ships, right? If you know there's no one's going to buy them. What's even the point of developing the capability of doing it if no one can ever do it? If you're only going to keep it player to player.
It's either the normal price plus tariff. So if tariff is 0, you're no better than any other station. Otherwise, you're going to be paying extra. And what's the point? Only to support the fleet carrier's owner. That's it.
It's like they don't understand how like fucking sales work, right? The store that you buy stuff from buys it from a supplier at a slight discount, at a wholesale rate,
right?
And then you add your costs on top of that, plus a little profit margin, and then that's roughly what everyone ends up selling it for, right? So yeah, you go to Walmart if you want the cheap, shitty version of whatever product is, or you go to Target if you want a slightly better shitty version of it, right? But the whole idea around upkeep, in concept, they planned on you being able to earn some money through it, and then you having to shoulder the rest of that burden, and then didn't fucking think about how someone would actually have to do it. What would happen if the flavor of the month money exploit right now of low temperature diamonds, poof, vanished into thin air like all the other ones in the past have, what would happen to all the carriers? What would everyone do? It would be a repo man's dream. Go get these fucking 5 billion credit carriers, take them all back because no one can afford them anymore. It'd be like the 2008 financial crash in LA. Everyone's Porsches getting repossessed, right? Because my investments got moved to zero because I had everything in fucking Lehman Brothers, right? There cannot be upkeep costs. There cannot be upkeep costs at all.
So let me ask to you and Score
ridiculous.
both. So okay, so yeah, let me put the question. Let me be a little devil's advocate to put to you and Score both. Right? Is any upkeep cost? Is there any level of upkeep cost that is not a deal breaker for you? Meaning, if upkeep cost is 10 million a week for everything, like let's just say it's a straight up, it's 10 mil a week total all in, right? So you need to farm, 500 million for the year, 520 million, which right now, and I'm making the argument in chat with a few folks that I don't want to mine. I don't want to be forced to mine anymore, right? I would argue that most to earn 520 million, even in other mechanics, isn't that difficult. And that is only, call it these days, 3 hours of mining, right? Is that still game breaking? Is that still like non-starter for you, or is that, yeah, this sucks, I'll do it because I want one, which we're going to get to more about wanting in a second. But yeah, what do you guys go you Score first, if that's okay?
All right, can I ask an additional
and then Plater will
question
jump to you, buddy,
to add on this?
Yeah.
So at the end of the time when my balance has gone down, does my ship still get taken apart for parts?
Well, okay, we haven't gotten to that. No, because I think that is
can I have it
absolutely
mothballed?
fucking retarded. There's a way for you to lock it. There's no way you're going to lose your ship.
repossessed,
There's no way you're
pass me
losing your
the
ship.
gasoline.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to lose your ship. We haven't talked about that yet, but let's jump to that, Scorb, and say I completely agree. There is no way you can lose your ship. Let's say that that's not possible.
So let me put it like this, right? I'm in a not unique position, right? But so in a little over a month, I'm gonna have a kid, right?
Okay.
A child is gonna show up in
Congratulations, by the way.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
If I buy a fleet carrier today, and then I have at best 3 months of no sleep, where I can guarantee you I'm not going to be logging into Elite, right? Right now, it would be gone on the other side of this, right? My carrier would be gone gone. For me to be in debt in a game that is already grind on grind on grind on grind, and now there's another grind for upkeep on a ship that conceptually can't fucking be used for anything.
Yeah, that's
no. For what? What am I going to waste 5 billion credits for? Right? And it's not like I don't have it, right? I don't want anyone to think that like I'm hurting for money, because your boy has done every credit exploit that has ever existed in this game, right? Seeking Luxuries, Rubigo, 17 Draconis, Rhea Passenger Weekend, right? I've got like 12 billion liquid, right? Like in straight cash. And Exigius, you can back me up. I've got ships out there.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Like,
no, yeah. I mean, you're
there's
in the same boat as I am, right? Like, I don't know who the rich. I might be the wealthiest. I'm at 21 billion in assets. I don't know if anybody else here has got that much, right?
I got somebody saying that they had like 40 something billion.
Okay.
Wow, what a fucking loser. No, I'm joking.
Do you know? Okay, so just quickly, and then we're going to jump to Plater. There's a guy on Inara. And if you look through it, it's hard. It looks like he earns about 2 billion a day. He's got 1 trillion credits.
Probably botting.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree that it's got to be something or somebody.
Someone's got to.
I know somebody's got 100
in like
billion.
the direction of Wall Street. Someone's got to redirect that guy, because his efforts are being wasted. This guy could
the amount of time he's got to be wasting to do that, right? I mean, that's like 10 hours. I mean, he's got to be doing 10 hours of mining every single day, and that. Anyway, that's aside. So we've kind of, and forgive me, we kind of skipped over and we kind of bounced the queue around a little bit. Let me jump to Plater, because Plater's been waiting to get his thoughts in here. So go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. So this is where I turn around and say, I'm not adverse to some upkeep. it's very important that I stress that what it is currently set up is the purpose of having it as a trophy and marking it somewhere where I want people to see that I've got one. You'd have better facilities, and I'd just pay the 10 million per week, and probably at some point forget and go into debt because that's what I do. I think the numbers need adjusting so much, but it kind of ties in with the upkeep side of things, the earning money. The potential to earn anything back isn't there. The carriers are all very much spend. The idea behind selling ships, fantastic. Selling modules, fantastic. Having a player-driven economy, fantastic. But we don't have a player-driven economy. We have just I want to buy this, which no one can find out that you want to buy it. And you would then have to sell that to NPCs. So that's not an economy. That's just market to market. And once it's sold, it's disappeared. It's gone. Nothing has any value as such to us as players. So I think that needs looking at. I would love it if this was the first steps to a player-driven economy, a full one. But the issue being is that whilst NPC stations still exist, it can't happen. And then looking at the ship cost, you've got the fact that if you want to try and sell ships and make yourself loads of money doing that, well, that's not going to happen because you're having to pay full price for ships and then sell them with a markup rather than you buying at cost. So, doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense on that. And then you've got, again, with the modules and also with the ships as well, is that you have to buy them in packs. So you find yourself very, very limited in what you can offer people. You could potentially park up quite close to a newbie system, and everyone who joins and everyone starts again, you could just sell these new ships to them a little bit cheaper than stations, but enough to make a profit, which would cover your lower costs. So I think there's a lot of potential for adjustment. I'm not averse to preloading. I'm not adverse to having to pay a little bit every single week, but there should be a complete stop when you shut it down. So you go, right, okay, I'm suspending the entire carrier.
Everybody has to get off.
Choosing to mothball it. Yep. It's suddenly not dockable anymore. You can take off and you can leave. You can transfer your ships. The same with the decommissioning phase, but it is temporary. It gets mothballed. You choose to it, and then it kind of gets stored somewhere and disappears. And then if I want to get it, I can reactivate my services and get it. Then you can do that. So there's a complete cease. That's the way I kind of see it doing. There has to be the ability for you to pause the gameplay around carriers completely, and it's your choice, so that you don't have it taken off of you, you don't lose all that time, you don't lose your credits, and it's achievable for you to do that. I think that needs to happen, plus universal cost graphics.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Don't worry. We're going to get to universal graphics.
That's my thoughts around the upkeep cost. I'm not adverse to having it. It just needs to be low. It needs to be enough where you kind of you're like, oh, I'll just bung some money in it, like pocket change, but not where you have to actively go and grind yourself senseless so you don't have time to do anything else. For BGS players, if you want to play BGS and that's your gameplay, you couple of hours a night, you come on, you do your BGS, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to go and mine, or you'd have to go for money-making scheme, or you'd have to do something. And that takes away, and your faction loses out because of that. Even if you're using it to support your BGS, it's not very helpful for that anyway, but you can make some money somewhere, so you don't have to worry about, I just need to put some money in the meter, rather than just need to take out a loan before I can even think about parking here. It needs to be like that. I think it needs to be just kind of like pocket change.
I just had somebody in my chat say something that I think is potentially a good idea. Or, we want this to go away, but a compromise idea is, you pay some fee. Let's assume that's relatively small, but when you go on a break like that, you put your ship in dry dock, right? That there's some way to park it essentially. Right now, I'll go back to devil's advocate or maybe agree with Scorbius, which is, an emergency comes up, there's something comes up, you don't get to go in game and do that. Now you're screwed. I think the mechanics should be after you haven't done anything with your fleet carrier, or you go into debt, and we're going to get to decommissioning. We can go to that now if you want. I was going to change to something else, but rather than it go to decommission when you go 300 million in debt, it goes to a dry dock and it sits there until you pay the 300 in debt to get it out of dry dock, and then you get it back, right? This whole notion of, and maybe I will just segue to that, or Yamiks, we'll let you do your rant first. The whole notion of losing the ship straight up and getting such little amount back for it is, it's unbelievably insulting, right? So, but since I'm a shill for Frontier now, maybe I'll let someone who clearly isn't, and let Yamiks go next. Yamiks, take us out on this.
Oh boy! All right, I'll try to be rather short on this one, but right. So
translation: he won't be short at all.
Oh my! Yes. Well,
quite tall actually.
I'm an average human.
That.
Thing. Oh wait, no, I have no corporate. Anyways, the thing is, right. So, unlike my peers here, and especially unlike Scorbius, I try to look at just the meta thing, right, and how they are constructed, and what are the principles of it, what are the psychology and thinking process behind these things, right? What it all stems from. Basically, game design, as it would be just cut and dry. And when it comes down to the upkeep, well, from players' perspective, it's nothing but negative thing. So why put it in, right? Why put in something that is a negative impact on anyone's livelihood or just experience in the game? Well, there has to be some sort of a reason for it, because usually if you're developing a game and so on and so forth, you would be putting something really positive with a negative and something like that. Essentially, think of engineering, right? You have something positive that is something you want, and negatives like, I don't know, generated extra heat or something. Well, for upkeep, well, it's purely negative, and really it's designed to do a couple of things, and it is basically designed to abuse you, psychology wise. See, the thing is, no matter what type of price you put on it, is it 1 credit, 10 credits, million, 2 million, whatever, it's all still designed to remind you every week there is something that is coming off your pocket. There is always something coming, and the game will make point to mention that every time you log in too. There will be something coming off your bank, because, well, with PowerPlay, they've already done that, haven't they? Every week, you get something positive, on the other hand. You get, that weekly bonus, and they do make a point to message you through the in-game inbox. Now, the same thing will happen, of course, with Fleet Carrier's upkeep. But, obviously, it's going to be a negative thing. Now, no matter if you got billions upon billions of credits, it's not designed to exactly make or ruin you, right? It's designed to keep reminding you, or, well, as Red Letter Media likes to say, you might have not noticed it, but your brain did. Brain subconsciously remembers. You have something negative, and you should probably log in to make sure that everything's okay. And guess what? That's what they bank on, that you log back in and, well, potentially get drawn into play or grind some more. And of course, the aspect of the values will dictate how much you are dictated to, or rather asked to grind. That's another topic that we can get into about the prices and so on and so forth. But it's really just a disgusting way of trying to get people to play, rather than making sure that there's a positive reinforcement behind it, say weekly bonus that you get by quote-unquote trading with NPCs, like 10 million or so. You get a 10 million penalty every week, and so on and so forth. And that's my basically final point there. So
here's a good idea.
Let me finish this one, and anyways, instead of that penalty each week, why just not have a pure and simple positive reinforcement? As I said, a bonus when you log in. Also, this would take away the need for upkeep for explorers. So explorers wouldn't be worried about having to upkeep the fucking thing if the upkeep was completely gone. But because this specific feature is designed and placed in the game in this specific way, well, it's intrinsical of the game loop that has been placed. And it won't ever go away. Because when was the last time when developer team decided to take a feature of an upcoming update after a beta and change it drastically and not just change values? Think on that. And that's about it on my end.
So
Yeah, no,
just
that
to
you're
piggyback
totally
off,
right about. Yeah.
just to piggyback off of, like, for FDev to give people a reason to log in each week, right? Just, I'm going to pitch an idea. You guys tell me what you think. This is off the top of my head. Just came up with this, right? Maybe once a week, let's say we pick a system and we run an event there and it runs for a week. Maybe we call it like a community goal or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, guys.
A positive reinforcement? Are you telling me we
Yeah,
gotta...
like something to do, like
You're
something
out of
to
your damn
do.
mind.
Yeah, like something to do every week, right? That you log in and it's like a unique experience. And then at the end of the week, based on how much you did, you get a reward.
And that
Yeah, but
reward
what if
can
I
be
wanted to do the
tiered.
exact opposite? What if, like, you wanted to do your trade thing because you're all tradey, and I'm more pew, as you know?
Yeah.
What if I wanted to do the combat side and stop you doing your trade?
Or I could
Hey, it's not
pirate
gonna work
you.
for me.
Yes.
But wait, no. But
Yes,
I want to do
exactly.
both. So you guys are trading, and I could bring a pirate ship, and I could attack you and steal from you in a role playing way. And of course, we're all being assholes and being very facetious of the fact that this is what we used to fucking have with community goals. Right, but apparently, whoever had to type in the community goal each week got tired of coming up with some very basic,
Interns
silly
got
little
fired,
thing.
sorry.
Right, so we can't have community goals anymore that were fucking great, brought the community together, all in one place. You got to do
Let's
something.
define them. Let's do it.
And look, I'm just putting this out there, FDev. If you're listening, if you're watching this back, I am available until May 13th to contract for ideas. I'll give you guys a friends and family rate.
Oh boy, what if we
It's
let...
$10 million per week.
Oh boy. Well, what if we let the carriers have their own community goals? Just have templates and let carrier owners create their own community goals.
But I mean, there's going to be like a fucking billion of them.
Well,
Right.
that isn't that something people would advertise their own for? That would be emerge in content.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's everything. I mean, look, the way that I think a lot of us want to play the game is have FDev provide the framework, and then we fill in the gaps, right?
Yeah.
You give us the tools to create our own content, right? And then let the players interact with one another through BGS wars, through actual PvP, through piracy, through the back and forth tug on community goals or in power play, right? You give players more power to do these things, and then you add the features that you add in the game help enable specific types of gameplay that you want to enhance, right?
And then shake that up with Thargoid attacks but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and like it's like they just seem hell bent on delivering single player only stuff onto this world that they've built, completely ignoring that the reason that games like this have longevity is through player driven content, right?
Mhm.
Like go back and think about what are the greatest moments in Elite. Salome, fucking Dove Enigma, right? The Fuel Rat Wars or whatever it was.
Even
right?
the
Well,
Gnosis
Gnosis too, but
incident.
we don't really talk about that these days. And
We don't talk about the Gnosis.
Hey,
Right.
look, I had one hell of a great time at the Gnosis. I don't know about you guys.
I had one.
Well,
I know you did.
On that.
Here, we at NXI definitely had a fantastic.
I had a
Nobody that
great
was
time.
designed for had a good time. That's a whole, like we said, a whole nother story.
we
Why
were,
don't we?
we were
Because
That
we've
should be
got,
fun.
I kind of was hoping the stream would go about 2 hours or so, and we're hour 15 in. And why don't we move to the next topic, which I'm going to tee up. And Plater, if you're up for kind of starting it, because I know you and I were seemingly disagreeing in our chat about it. Why don't we talk about
sure.
jumping, and talk about in terms of all the issues around jumping, right? In terms of fuel, having to mine tritium, ferry tritium back and forth to your station, to your carrier, the spin up time, the cooldown time. Why don't we? And I'm actually going to take liberty to rant out to the end of this one. So if you guys can jump in queue, and I will let Plater get started with it.
Cool. Now, I will say, if you rant me out and don't give me a chance to respond at the end, I'm coming for you.
We'll see. Okay, I might get the last word
back
though.
And forth, so.
No, we did. I think we can have a pleasant disagreement,
So,
hopefully, or see if we can agree.
So right now, the spin up and the spin down, right, for lack of better terms, because I can't be asked to call it anything else, is now. I am not, once again, not adverse to it existing. Do I think that an hour before or an hour after is too much? Yes, I do. Taking into consideration that fleet carriers are a service for other players, right? That's what they've been built for, basically, because why else would you purchase a bunch of modules to then store on your ship for you to buy off of yourself? It doesn't make sense. It's designed for other people. Same with your refuel, rearm, and that's why it's designed that you can make money off of people or get some of it back, at least recoup some funds. It's there for other people. I think that having a spin up is acceptable because it gives people a notification who may want to get off of your ship.
That can be dictated by player themselves.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah,
let him finish. Let him go. Let him go. No, keep
stop
going,
working me like a glove puppet, man. Your lips moved. No, it's like I do think there should be some flexibility in how long the spin up is. Do I think that you should be able to chain jumps together so it's immediate? No, I don't think so. I think that would be wrong because someone may only want to jump 500 light years with you, so they may want to get off. They might know, I'm going to this point, jump off. Yeah, there should be an option for it, but no one wants to sit there for however long. And that jump sequence when you're sat there stuck in the hangar is pretty boring. But you've got the option to jump off, and I think having a spin up time, even if it's maximum half an hour, but can be as low as 5 minutes, because you've got to have some time for the pads to lock down and services to disable, because there's a certain bit of mechanics that have to be adjusted when it jumps. I think that the cooldown at the end, 5 minutes before you can start queuing it again. Seriously, that's what I think. I think 5 minutes is probably enough before you can queue another jump. I think that would be okay. With regards to kind of the facilities for it, because it's just we were talking about, what you want to use it for. It's not designed for that, which is to immediately pick up and dump all of your fleet in one place at a different time. There has to be a little bit of planning for it. And I know we also spoke about how come capital ships can jump whenever. The thing is that there's no law for fleet carriers whatsoever because they're brand new content. They don't exist anywhere. They don't have about that kind of. They don't have anything written. It's not written in a Bible anywhere that this is how they work. They may jump using the same technology, but they are not. They're essentially privately owned vehicles. The same way that you can't necessarily have a jumbo jet personally and choose to fly whenever you want. There's got to be some planning involved. You start to take it up this point. You start thinking about it in a universe reason for it. And also, the only time that you see a capital ship jump immediately is once we've damaged it enough. And that's the only time you see them jump. You don't see them jump for any other reason apart from they arrive, and we don't know. That could be planned for an hour. We have no way of knowing. These wars, we know they're coming before they arrive days in advance. So they could be planning. You never know. But them jumping out is something we have forced them to do through gameplay, that we've taken out the heat relays, so they have to jump. As like a oh, we're doing an emergency jump. It's either we lose the ship or we jump out now. And they always choose jump out now because they're such a big commodity. They don't want to lose their 5 billion that they spent on it, and they're worried about the depreciation of the value. So, but that's where I see it. I think there should be some flexibility and it should be user controlled. Do I think it should be completely eradicated and removed? No. And I think this with most of the products, most of the facilities and services on the carriers, because I'm trying to make sure I'm heading you off as wherever you want to go, Exigeous. This is what I'm trying to do here.
No, you're good.
I'm going ahead. So I think we have to talk about what realistically we can get out of Frontier with adjustments. Like key features being removed, new things being added in. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think we can have numbers adjusted.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
Really focus, and that's what I think we should really focus on. Yep. Things won't be removed, but they will be adjusted.
I think the only key feature that this is jumping to a different topic, but a key feature that I really sincerely hope they do add and change is, we haven't gotten to it yet, we'll maybe cover that next, is universal cartographics, right? I mean, if they're not going to add cartography, I think that would, and I'm not an explorer, right? I don't use universal cartography, right? But without that and the lack of that and keeping that off, I think would be a massive, massive mistake on their end. Right. And in terms of everything else, to your point, adjusting numbers is relatively easy. And we got to imagine there's just a settings file somewhere where they're just tweaking these things, right? Where adding universal cartography is going to be, significantly more work than that. Oh, and by the way, something that I don't know if has been said that Bruce confirmed when we chatted earlier is they are planning on making changes to, quote unquote, these numbers. Don't know what that entails, what numbers, how much, right? During this first beta before it ends on April 20th, right? So while there probably would be more changes between that end of this beta and second beta, they are planning to make some changes, in the time we're playing with it right now, which I think is good news, right? I think that's going to be very telling if that change is a 5%, 50%, or 90% cut in the things that we're upset with, right? That's going to give us some real idea of, what's going to happen, right? So, sorry, just wanted to toss that in while, to basically agree with your point there, Plater. So, and with that, Plater, should I, Scorb, did you want to,
Scorb, go for it.
Yeah, if you're going to talk to the Scorb, I do kind of want to, not necessarily go last, but I'd like to, I'm going to address everything that Plater just said here in a second. So if you've got other things to go with, go right ahead.
All right. So about jumping, right? When we first saw the fleet carriers, we were told that they can jump, 500 light years, and you were able to do it from the galaxy map. We weren't told about cool down and spin up times, but I can see why they're there, right? So you're offering a service, and in the area of space we are, assuming that anybody can see your carrier, you want to let people know, we are leaving, everybody, we are leaving, get on the bus or bugger off. So you want to give them an amount of time, but that's assuming a particular play style. It's assuming that you're doing a specific thing. It could be, I don't care if anybody comes here today, I just want to leave now. And the thing is, there is a genuine lack of player agency with this change, with the fleet carriers, where we had all the agency in the world when they were first announced. We could do what we wanted with them, and it's down to us. So what we should be able to do, I think there should be some spool up. Yeah, that's fine. 5 minutes. 5 minutes to get all your ducks in a row, get off the ship if you're getting off. We're sending a basic spam message out to everybody. This ship is leaving now. Is leaving. We're spooling up the drives. Shit, or get off the pot. Come on. But you should have the opportunity to send a message out 1 hour before if you want to. So it should be optional. We're leaving in an hour. If you want to come do some final trades, come do your business. But we are leaving in an hour. And I think the reason for that is, you look at fleet carriers are unprecedented in this game. We've got them in No Man's Sky, frickin' instance in that game. But in sci-fi generally, we've got things like Battlestar Galactica, where they take some time to have to do a jump, and then they jump. If they jump early, they might end up inside of a star because they haven't got any calculations. They need to do the calculations on that. But they spool up and then they jump. They have the choice when they do that. They have the choice. we need to have the choice to support multiple types of gameplay, like your gameplay, where you want to move all your stuff and your friends to a thing. We haven't got, some people don't have an entire hour to sit twiddling our thumbs going, well, yeah, my wife cooks dinner in an hour. Let's get some Elite played. Ah, shit. I haven't got time. Sorry, boys. I should have done that before, I suppose. But having a 5-minute window with the option of an hour, I think that'll be fine. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. What is the problem with that? What's the problem?
I think a good solution to the issue you brought up is to have literally a button that says, "Would you like to actually dock, like as in become a part of this fleet carrier?" If you're not, when the station not the station, when the carrier jumps, it just automatically launch you off the ship and then spin you away like if there's a frame shift.
Just spits you out and pushes you away, and now you're just floating in the instance.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly.
The hangers double as trebuchets for your ship.
That'd be some great. That'd get some great B-roll, wouldn't it? Watching a whole bunch of ships get ejected off of it.
Get off my ship!
Right.
But yeah, I mean, even that would be fine. Just give the player a choice. Like, hey, do you want to stick with this carrier? So even if it goes, you go with it, or if it goes, even if you're not at the table at their desk at that very moment, you would just get ejected off.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to jump in now with a few things, and Scorb actually stole my thunder on a few things, and it seems that Scorb and I agree. No, that's great, because I'm going to get to echo you completely in a lot of ways. In that there's one key thing that you said that I was sitting here like beating my head against my mic, shaking it up and down. I agree with so much, which is the removal of my agency, right? This is my fucking fleet carrier, right? Now, I respect exactly what Plater was getting at in terms of there are other people land on it. There's reasons for people to land on it, right? They can buy things from me, right? They can restock, repair, and refuel, right? They can trade in my market. They can buy modules and ships from me. If I fucking install those things, this is my carrier. That's my point, right? I bought this thing. I made this point to Bruce earlier. I ground out the hundreds of hours of gameplay it took to earn it. I'm the one grinding out the credits to pay for it, right? I'm the one that has my fleet on my fleet carrier, right? This notion that I have to wait to jump it because of somebody else not wanting to jump with me, right? Kind of blunt me. My response to that person that's on it is, fuck you, don't land on my carrier then, right? We shouldn't be landing on carriers that we don't trust, because there is, and I agree, forgive me, something in my throat. There is the worry of you land on somebody's carrier, you go to bed, you wake up the next day, and they've jumped you 5,000 light years away from where you are, and now you're stranded somewhere, and I've griefed you, right? Well, you shouldn't be landing on somebody's carrier in a case where you don't trust it, right? Now, let me be specific about what I see as, because this was kind of the goal, as the fix for this, right? What I see as the fix is specifically around spin up time, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, right? Because I get to Scorb's point, being able to put a message, hey, this thing's going to jump in 5 minutes. If you don't want to go with it, here's where it's going. You need to get the fuck off, right? Because people are going to want to get off, right? I don't know or see them doing something that would literally, shoot us off. That would be great if we could. I think that'd be funny as hell looking, and boy, there'd be some great. I can hear the Yamiks sound effect already, right? Around that, exactly.
Squeak, squeak.
Totally right, but this notion that I have to plan ahead an hour to do what I want to do with my carrier, for what reason? Scorb, you asked that. Like, why? What does this add? It adds nothing. All it does is hamper me in a very artificial way. And to Player's point about the lore behind them, and maybe the capital ships making an emergency jump, sure, right? There is no lore technically written around them. I actually, as you were saying, that Player was curious and went and looked in the in the codex or in the handbook that comes with it to see, right? And nope, there isn't anything, right? I think it's pretty fair to assume, and sure, maybe we shouldn't assume, but pretty fair to assume that it is based around the capital ship jump drives, right? Given that that's what it looks like, that's what it sounds like, it's the exact same thing, but I'm making an assumption there, so I shouldn't, right? I get the argument that if there was no spin up and no cooldown, that somebody could get one of these to to Beagle Point in, I'm making a number up here, in 10 hours, 5 hours, whatever it might be. Which, by the way, if you guys don't realize, the speed record to Beagle Point right now is 6 hours and 38 minutes. Colonia is 1 hour and 38 minutes. So the
Fucking
notion
hell.
of not being able to, not wanting to get somewhere very quickly or much quicker than kind of quote unquote is intended. Well, you can already get to these places incredibly quickly if you want to, right? Now, those are outliers doing speed records. I've made it to Colonia in an hour and 45 minutes, jumping fast, but not trying to set a record. And so what feels appropriate to me is a 5-minute spin up, right? As to what Ascorb said, there's a message that goes out. Hey, if you don't want to go, get off. You've got, I know there's a mechanic where the pad's all locked down and everything locks and you're done for jump. Say that happens at 2 minutes before the jump, and that's it. At that point, if you're on board, you're along for the ride, right? You're not getting jumped more than 500 light years. And the notion that, well, I could log out of the game and come back and you've jumped me around. Well, even with an hour spin up, if you log out for 2 days, I can jump you pretty damn far in those 2 days, right? So I think the notion of, me not being able to do something because of others is completely unfair to me, the one that owns the thing, the one that worked for the thing. And let's not forget, I might not install any of those features. I might not install, repair and refuel and restock and shipyard and outfitting. Now, of course, I'm going to do a few of those. Specifically me, I'm going to do shipyard and outfitting so that I can put my own shipyard and outfitting. Of course, the comment of, it's ridiculous that my fleet carrier can't carry my fleet unless I spend more money to add that ability is, pretty silly, right? I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's pretty silly, right? So I feel like a 5-minute spin up and maybe a 30-minute cooldown, right? Even with the cooldown at an hour, that sucks and I think is silly, but I can kind of live with that because for me, and yeah, we can argue that these aren't meant for me. Certainly they weren't designed just for Exegius, but I think they were designed for a lot of people that want this sort of gameplay and I also said to Plater earlier that I will admit, and I still feel like this was right, I was in favor of ship transfer taking time. And the main reason I wanted it to take time was kind of 2 reasons. One, I felt like it only makes logical sense, right? That if your ship just magically gets somewhere, just from that standpoint, it bugs me. But from the standpoint of, it would negated the way we jump ships and fly in ships as we jump around, because everybody would then just have, a 84 light year Anaconda and a 72 light year DBX. We would jump in those and transfer things, and that's all we would do to get around. You can argue if that's good or bad, and in retrospect, I don't know now if I would have agreed, and I don't think I technically voted, but that's what I was thinking at the time. With this, I don't feel like that in any way breaks any of that kind of stuff, because this is my ship that I work to achieve, that has the ability to jump that far. And now the primary thing I want to use it for, that adds to my experience, that gives me new gameplay, that gives me reason to want this thing, is to put my fleet, and I have a sizable one, on my ship to be able to say, hey, all my buddies are up in Sand 2 having a big PvP melee, because I have a BGS faction and my faction's home system is 200 light years away from Sand 2. Great. I'll jump my carrier up there. I'll be there in a few minutes. Fantastic. Hey, anybody that's on the carrier doesn't want to go with me, or it's my carrier, don't land. Let's say I set it so that nobody else can land, right? I jump up there, have fun with my buddies. It's got a 30-minute cooldown. Great. I let the cooldown be done, and then I'm ready to jump back. Hey, my buddies are down in Pleiades. I want to go join, Gluttony and the guys down fighting, do some Thargoid combat. Great. Jump all my ships down there. All my modules are with me. All my ships are with me. I'm good to go. As it is now, oh, you guys are up at Sand 2? Well, I'll be there in an hour. Okay, I get there. Oh, well, you guys are pretty much done. You're only going to fight for, you guys are about to go to bed. Okay, well, I guess I'll go back home in 2 hours, because now I've got to wait the hour's cooldown and another hour spin up, right? And I've gotten nothing. That's added no benefit to me. That's added no additional gameplay. There's no way for me to use it. It's nothing but an artificial limitation for what I see as absolutely no reason. And ultimately, and I think this goes to some of what Scorb said, certainly his video, it's a video game. I play this. I don't work it. This is for fun. I want this to add fun. I want this to add a reason for all of the work that I did to earn it. And now I'm potentially going to kick it back to Plater. I see Ryan's got his hand up if he wanted to comment on this. Otherwise, if Plater, if you had something you wanted to kind of rebut with.
I do. Of course I do. So a lot of what you've said, and I want to make this super clear. This is not a personal
Oh no, of course
thing,
not. No,
attack in any way. Shape, or
Yeah,
form.
don't take it. You know me, I won't take it that
Life
way.
is far too short to get snotty with people over a computer game. So, but a lot of the language you use there is it's mine. I do this. I'm do, and your language you're using is quite. I hate to use the word entitled.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
What you're
no.
seeing,
I feel
what you're
entitled.
seeing is if you're seeing a product. You're seeing a product. It's like me going to a showroom for a car, right? And honestly, I have never purchased a car. I don't drive. I never have. It's a lifestyle choice. It's better for the environment.
Okay.
And it's not why, but it's never bought a car. But I know that what I am buying when I buy it. So it's very much if it's advertised and it says, okay, top speed 60 miles an hour, but I want it to go 100. It doesn't go 100. Well, I'm paying for it. I've earned the money for it. I'm buying it. I want it to go 100. This car doesn't go 100. It only goes 60. And that's kind of where we are at the moment. So it's like, it looks like, I mean, it's not quite the same because you get different models of car. But if you do have a car, you've got advertised features. This thing that is being sold does this thing. It may mean, and this isn't just aimed at you, it's just super clear. It may mean that anyone who's thinking that you're looking at it but it doesn't do that, maybe it isn't for you. And Frontier have said, maybe, well, they've definitely said, carriers are not for everyone. And I'm at the point where I'm thinking carriers may not be for me because of the upkeep price and because of the lack of fulfilling gameplay. For you at the moment, they may not be for you because of the spin up and cooldown. So that's what I wanted to kind of end on, because it starts going to a different topic of us going, do you think it's for you? Who is it for?
Sure.
But it's very much they will come with a certain set of features, and they may not be for some of us because of different features.
And sure, let me sorry, I'm going to get the last word on this if that's okay. I scheduled the scream, and let me start by saying
depends what you say.
Well, no. Well, and it might, but I don't think you're gonna get where I'm going. I think this is a fair way to end it, right? And let me first agree with you that this is not any kind of you and I yelling at each other over it at all, right? I mean, it's I even DM'd Plater when we were arguing about this and said, hey, let's stop, let's have this debate on the stream because we can have a friendly disagreement about it, right? That's the whole reason to do this, right? So yeah. I mean, I certainly hope you didn't take anything when I'm saying this is mine, right? None of that was directed at you, clearly, right?
No,
to your analogy of a car, and I think that's a fair analogy, right? I look at this using that analogy. This is a car that's in development. I'm working with the developer, a builder of this car. And by the way, speaking of the car analogy, this is someone who not only drives, but was a racing instructor for 7 years, right? Going to the builder of the car and saying, hey, you've built this car that can't do this. I'm your target customer, potentially. I mean, your comment about maybe they aren't for me. It's a shame that because of this one design decision you're making in the design process, which is what the beta is, right? Because of that one design change, give me a valid reason that it should have an hour spin up time instead of a 5 hour or 5 minute spin up time. Versus like the car developer saying, okay, well, if we were going to make the car go 100 miles an hour, we'd have to do this to the engine or this to the brakes, or we'd have to do this to the aerodynamics, blah, blah, blah. Where in this case, it's a developer changes a number, right? And I know that, obviously if this was a real life kind of thing, it would be a different thing, right? But I think the notion that The only reason that I'm ruined by, I made this analogy, I joked about this a lot. I know there's going to be something in fleet carriers. There's going to be one little thing like multi-crew where you can't mix wings and multi-crew that's going to make it useless. And it's not just me that this issue is related to. There's a lot of people that this spin up time is absolutely ruining this for. I have many friends that want to use it in this way, that have fleets of ships that do a lot of combat, that want to be able to move their ships around on their carrier right away. Scored made the great point of it being an agency thing as well, right? And so because of that, for no good damn reason to give us this long spin up and this long cooldown, right? Honestly, if it was a 5-minute spin up and an hour and 55-minute cooldown, I would be much happier because I could actually use it the way that I want to use it. A lot of other people could use it in that way at the same 2-hour rate. Now, I'm not arguing that it should be that way, right? But I just don't see any reason why 5-minute, 30-minute is worse than 1 hour, 1 hour. You get what I'm saying? I mean, can you, right? Can you give a reason why a 1 hour spin up and a 1 hour cooldown is somehow better? And again, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I think you get where I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, considering I don't think an hour cooldown, an hour spin up is right. So I can't.
Right, exactly.
I can't
You
really,
did
I can't really have that argument.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a good analogy if you're talking about the fact that we've got this opportunity to go back to the builder of your car and say, yeah, but can I have this instead? Or can I have this? Can I have this? Obviously, you're going to be happy with what you've said you want. That's kind of no surprise. But what would you? Because is there something that you would go, oh, that's enough, I'll take it? Do you have a number for that?
Yeah.
I'm not
I would.
No. I
do. Yeah, I would say that for me, all right, straight up. Okay, look, let's be honest. I'm going to buy one anyway because I'm going to have to fucking make tutorials about it. And let's be blunt, right? Now, is it something aside from that, or something I'll keep after I buy, or that I'll invest in, all that kind of stuff? I think for me, the upper limit for spin up time would be 15 minutes, right? At 15 minutes. All right, I can stomach that. That's still not so long that I miss out on what I want to do in the other place, right? It's short enough that, okay, I do that, and then I guess I go do something else out of game. I respond to comments on YouTube. I do something waiting for that 15 minutes, and that's why I think 15 minutes versus 5 minutes is silly, because it's just punitive at that point, right? So yeah, the upper limit for me is probably that it is still useful is 15 minutes. I think 5 to 10 minutes makes a whole lot more logical sense. It's enough time for people to get off the carrier. It's enough time to have a lore reason of it takes time to spin these drives up and get ready. Somebody I saw made the joke during the stream about how long was it the Galactica took? 38 minutes or 32 minutes? There was even a big episode about it. I'm just forgetting the exact number because remember something in that range, right? It took the Galactica that long to between jumps, or maybe it was when the Cylons were chasing that was 38 minutes. I think that's what it was. That's what maybe I'm thinking of. Stargates can only stay open for 38 minutes. That's what I'm thinking of. Sorry, another franchise. But something in the 5 to 10 minute range is what feels right to me in terms of lore, in terms of it doesn't waste my time. It gives people time to get off of it, because I do think there's, you do have to respect that, even though I don't fucking care, right? Yeah, all right, people do. And okay, I can go with that. And that's why I think 5 to 10 is the most appropriate, but 15 is my outside number.
It feels arbitrary to me.
It feels
like
completely arbitrary to me too.
Maybe
any number's arbitrary.
server side.
What if it had a gameplay reason? Let's say if you wanted to jump in 5 minutes, you get a 200 light year jump range. If you wanted to wait 10 minutes, you get a 300 light year.
I get where you're going, and the more you charge it, the further. I personally think that's punitive too, but for me personally, selfishly, yeah, because most of the places I want to jump that I'm going to use it in this fashion are in that 250-ish range, which is why ultimately with the hour time, it is faster for me and a fuck ton cheaper for me to jump my DBX somewhere and ship things, right? Because anywhere I'm going to go, shipping time is going to be less than an hour. Right? Anywhere I'm going to move anything around to. Maybe the Pleiades from where I am is right at that hour, but moving the carrier would make more sense because I have everything with me. So that's why this seems so silly to me.
XEGS, actually, I know that you conducted surveys and polls in your group to see how people feel about.
I did a lot of polls, and in fact, on this one, the no, the most common answer honestly was I didn't do the question the best way because I included both spin up time and cooldown time. So the answers were 15. So I did 30-second spin up and cooldown. That was 8%. 5-minute spin up and cooldown was second place at 28%. 15-minute spin up and cooldown was tops at 40%. And so I think if I could have put more choices and could have said, like, what I would propose would be a 5-minute spin up and a 30-minute cooldown, so that whole number is 35 minutes, which is kind of the same as that 15 and 15. So that's where I kind of feel like that answer jives with what I was looking for, because I do think a 5-minute spin up and a 5-minute cool down, I do think that's not necessarily the best answer. I do maybe agree that that's too fast, right? So it's not the whole number of 30 minutes that bothers me. It's the spin up time that bothers me.
Right. To turn it back to the conversation where it started with the analogy with the car sale and whatnot, car manufacturers definitely want to appeal to a large market demographic. Well, the bigger the market share, the easier it is to have revenue. So actually, VIX, I also did a unofficial survey just to see how people feel. We opened it up to pretty much everyone, and I actually pinged you in the live stream chat, and I kind of screen grabbed the one that we did for the jump, wind up and cooldown. Only 23.1% of people are okay with the current time, and everyone else seems to just want to lower it or even remove it, as you can see in the chart. So I definitely agree with you there. It seems that the community do want to either lower or remove the spin up and cooldown time.
Yeah. My results of people that were fine with it was 11%. Which honestly,
even lower than mine.
11% blew my mind when I saw that. I wanted to shake people, like, what? Like, I don't get it. I don't get that, right? I don't get why, and as you said, Plater, you did start with saying, right, that you would prefer it to be something better. And actually, to end it, and then we're going to switch to a new topic. Ryan apparently has a new topic for us that is a surprise, apparently. We haven't brought up yet. I do want to make sure we also, because we are starting to run a little long. I mean, we all can go, I guess, as long as we want to. But I do want to make sure we get to universal cartography. I want to make sure that we get to outfitting shipyard stuff, maybe numbers around there. Maybe with that we don't necessarily have to, but I want to touch on it at least. So is there anybody else on this topic before we move on to that? That's what I was hoping for. So
I think we've beaten it to death, haven't we?
Yeah. So I guess the last question I'm going to ask before we go is, Plater, what do you think like you asked me what my numbers would be, kind of on the what would be acceptable? What do you think is the right answer?
I mean, I would be comfortable with a 10-minute timer that you can choose to extend if you like.
Okay.
So when you choose to jump, you can pick a time in the future so you can schedule a jump. It might be when you're offline, it might be in 15 minutes time, but you can schedule it for a little bit further in advance. So you can potentially say to your group, "Hey guys, it's going to be jumping in 15 minutes," or "How long do you need before it jumps?" That kind of thing. If you've got people that need to do stuff, I'm logging off. How long do you need before it jumps? I just want to make sure it's there before our next stream. That kind of thing. That would be cool for me. I think that'd be all right. Spin down wise, 20 minutes would be okay. 20 minutes, half an hour, that would be all right. Because one of the key things is that carriers spawn in. For some reason, you're not in a system with the carrier management, carrier administration service. It's happened to people. Then you have to jump it, but you have to wait an hour to do that because you spawned in the wrong system. Or you jump out and you forget something. You forget to pick something up a service or that type of thing. It's your mistake, but it would be nice to be able to have that resolved quicker.
You know what? I gave you the last word, and I agree with you. I think that's a great idea, right? I think the scheduling a jump is a great idea, and I would be okay with 10 minutes. So let's let Ryan take us on to something new. What you got, buddy?
All right, guys. This is something I haven't seen anyone talk about, and I think this will be a good time to talk about. So, let's say I've got my fleet carrier, and I got my boys on it, and let's say, FDev has hired me as an outside consultant, and they take my completely innovative and not at all community goal, And let's say this is a piracy. Let's say it's a trade and piracy community goal, or sorry, a trade and a bounty hunter community goal. But I want to pirate people because they're hauling low temperature diamonds, super high profit margin, the only thing you can fucking pirate, right? So me and my boys show up, and we go out and we start pirating people and start racking up fines and bounties because people don't know what they're doing and they don't listen to instructions, and I got to smoke a few of them. I then can't go back and docket my own fucking fleet carrier because my fleet carrier, for some reason, has to follow the same security parameters as every other station in the system. Why? Why would I want on my personal fleet carrier, if I'm a pirate, why would I ever want security to apply to my personal fleet carrier? In what world, in what lore would I ever allow system security to be near my fleet carrier if I didn't want them there?
I might respond to that, and let me make sure I'm understanding the question first and the scenario.
Yep.
So, scenario is you've done something illegal.
I was a bad boy.
System security is at your carrier.
No. So system security. So right now, if I park my fleet carrier in Shinrarta, right?
Which you can't do. So, I mean, I get what you're saying.
So,
permit systems you can't go to, but I think I get where you're going. A high security system, is that what we're saying?
So I park in a high security system.
Okay.
From my understanding, and I may be wrong on this, but this is how it was described to me. If I commit a crime in the system and I have a bounty, I now have anonymous access at my own fleet carrier.
I don't believe that's true.
Are you certain?
Okay, so let me say that. I tell you what, we'll test that after the stream, and we'll figure this out, right? Because if that's true, I completely agree with you. I have no defense of it. The way I understand
on the Plater stream, that he's got a notoriety of 10 on the beta, and he has no problem landing on his own carrier.
Okay, because here's how I understand.
Notoriety doesn't mean anything, though, right? You'd have to be actively wanted in that system. Right. I permanently live in notoriety 10.
Right. So this is what I understand. This is how I understand the way it works, is that if I'm wanted, right, notoriety, whatever, I'm wanted straight up. I mean, that's the easiest mechanic, right? And I'm in a high security system, that there will be system authority around my carrier, right? And so that I would have to essentially sneak past them, for lack of a better term, to get landed before they would engage me. Now, I don't know what happens if they engage me. Does that now mean I can't land? So we would have to figure that little part of the mechanic out, right? But as I understand it, that's the only thing that happens. My carrier is still happy with me. I can still land at it if I sneak by them. I do think it makes sense that system authority would be around my carrier, right? Because they see a carriage up in a system from a realism, immersion, lore perspective, right? Wait a minute, that's a guy's fleet carrier. I wonder if he's going to try to the killer we've been after is going to try to sneak back there, and so that then they would come to the fleet carrier and stake it out, right? That makes sense to me too. If you're right that if there's a way for me to get in trouble that I can't land on my own carrier, that's horseshit. I do not think that that's the case. If it is the case, this is the first I've ever heard of any mechanic that would work that way. So we would have to test this and figure it out. Because I would agree with you that, yeah, that's ridiculous. Like you said, this is my carrier. My carrier is fine with me landing on it if I'm a criminal, right? I mean, I can go back to my house. My house isn't going to spit me out because I come home a criminal, right?
What a fucking wild world that would be, right? You go home and your garage is like, nah, dog. You gotta go
exactly, right? Yeah, right. Your garage won't open because you 5-figured something at Walmart, right? And yeah, Plater, I think you were trying to jump in.
I'm saying just a quick chip in. One of the guys from my squadron has 60 million in bounties on his head in that system where his carrier is, and notoriety 10. And he's hostile wanted, and he even has system security apparently flying around his carrier that are red.
And he can still land.
Still able to land. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Does he have full access to everything?
Yeah. Can he use? Yeah. Does he have anonymous access or full access?
We'll wait for his response.
Yes. Yeah. Let's confirm that.
Yeah, because it should be interesting because normally your it's tied to BGS, and carriers are BGS independent, so they don't, because that's who your fine is with, is a BGS faction. So surely, logically, if they're
Well.
independent to BGS,
We've been
logically that he says yes, he can access everything.
Okay.
So-
Okay. So not a worry then. Okay.
So can someone else? That would be my
You
next
can set
test.
the carrier so that people with notoriety can't land on it, right? So now your question is, could I, if I was wanted, all that kind of stuff, and he had it set so you could land with notoriety, would I still be able to use all services? And I believe the answer is yes, because to Plater's point, the carriers don't link with anything related to BGS, right? So it's not like they're linked to the Federation going, who is this person? And, oh, wait, they should be wanted in this system because of the factions that are here and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think this is something that is a concern right now.
Okay.
Right. And so
I would
unless
be
we,
interested. I'd be interested to see.
yeah,
that.
I'm happy to test this with you afterwards, Ryan. Like, I mean, I'll get some guys and get some guys around my carrier. We'll do the exact same test and we'll confirm that this is not an issue. Because if it was, I agree with you. Right.
Cool.
Why don't we move on? I don't have anybody in the queue yet, except that I'm going to move it to the next topic that we've had two for outfitting and shipyard and one for universal cartographics. Given the time, why don't we take those last two maybe as our last two topics, unless there's something else that has come up. Somebody I just saw mentioned about AX outfitting and stuff. I think that's a decent segue, or Gluttony can talk about this. The notion, I think my biggest, to tee this up, my biggest issue around shipyard and outfitting is that, first of all, I actually think it's great that we can sell everything, right? I was worried that it was going to be something where we'd only get the D-rated modules or the E-rated modules or blah, 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 right? It's great that we can sell all of the different modules, but not all of the ships, by the way. By the way, Ryan, I don't know if you know this, you can't sell the FDL or the Mamba. Did you know that?
What? Why?
It's not part of the ship packs, right? You can't sell those.
Oh
you can't
my
sell any of the
God.
Alliance ships, none of the Federation ships, none of the Imperial ships. It's pretty much only the Lakon. The only real combat ships would be the Python, the Crate Mark
as long
II,
as
and the
they have
Phantom.
Python, I'm fine.
Anaconda. I think the passenger ships, the Beluga and stuff are available. And here's the other stupid thing. I would show you that, but I have to be in a service system with carrier services, which, by the way, don't actually show on the Galaxy map right now, because I'm assuming that's a
genius.
bug. Also, and I didn't get to address this with Bruce yet today. I asked Bruce, I said, oh, hey, you've got he said something about it. I needed to know during the stream, what system can I go to manage my ship? Can you just tell me a system that has carrier services? And he gave me one. And he asked the question basically like, where are you? I'll look at the spreadsheet and tell you the closest. I said, oh, could you just give me that spreadsheet so I can share that with everybody? And now I'm not talking Bruce for this because clearly not his decision, but no, because that would take away from your experience of finding them and filling out the Galaxy map. And my response in text was, bullshit. We've complained about that shit forever because we have to you realize that these are all going to be on Inara within hours of launch and us figuring them all out because nobody wants to do that. And it's akin to buying a phone book that I have to drive around to each business and get them to fill out for me. It is fucking idiotic. Oh, wait a minute. I'm a shill for Frontier, so I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, you big
it's
They're
retarded.
gonna take their check back, dude.
I'm telling you, man. Right?
Yeah.
Did you guys get your checks this month? So let's go to. So my biggest problem with with shipyards and outfitting is that A, there's such a limited selection of the ships. B, you buy a bundle. So now we're back to the old days of cable TV subscriptions where I have to buy, like I buy a pack of cargo ships and I'm making the numbers up because I don't remember exactly, 5 Type 7s and 5 Type 6s and 8 Type 9s, right? And because of that pack cost me, again, making numbers up here, 500 million credits. Or more specifically, around the modules, I have to buy all of the modules, right? Which and in massive packs. And this is, if you heard the launch stream, when we
how
were
I
going
picked
through
it.
these numbers, right, during the beta launch, right, when I was giggling as we were learning what the different numbers were, like I was actually punch drunk at that point, and the way we were just giggling, and I'm pulling up the spreadsheet right now. Where the hell is it? There it is. What the various packs cost. For example, the pack for fuel scoops and fuel tanks. If you want the tier 3 ones, which is all the A-rated ones, all the way up to class 8, and yes, fuel scoops are expensive. It's 3 billion credits. So to outfit so that you can sell every single module is 26.4 billion credits. It has to be a la carte. It has to be, and I guarantee you the reason it's not is somebody didn't want to have to code all the different screens to let you say, I want 1 class 8 fuel scoop, I want 2 class 7s, and I want 10 class 6s. Or I want no class 7s and 8s, right? Or I can pick
Those
what
lazy
I want of
holders.
whatever I want, right? It is so beyond ridiculous that now we're talking about, and people have said to me, "Oh well, somebody wants to park a fleet carrier out in Colonia that sells every module there is, or maybe like Witchhead, so that there's essentially a floating Jameson, right? At obviously higher prices. That's a whole other thing we can talk about, right? But the investment up front for me to do that is 26 billion, and I'm never going to make a profit on that. I'm never going to my credits are going to be hung up in that inventory forever.
Yeah, you won't be able to
Anybody
sell it.
defend that? Anybody tell
You
me that's a
can't.
good idea?
By the
It
by the
fucking
passenger ship.
infuriates me. That one feature
You have
is
to buy
I
just,
have a defense.
please. You don't,
Okay,
so that's why I'm
so-
letting you talk.
Uh,
Oh, wait,
Well,
just quickly,
my
Ryan
defense
said he
is-
had, hold on, before he goes, Ryan, I hope you're still with us. Ryan said he's got to bounce.
He left.
Oh, he left already. Okay, well, sorry that I didn't get to say goodbye to Ryan. Just quickly, thanks to Ryan for joining. I wish I'd have gotten to say bye to him before he bounced out. But big thanks for him joining. So back to you, Yamiks.
Right, so defense of buying in bundles. You need to spend more cash and thus grind more. So grind, folks.
That's not a
Get out of here.
That's why I said I knew it
Come
wasn't an
on.
actual defense.
Well, it is a game designer's defense. So that's basically what the game designer thinks of you.
Well-
Basically, hey, well, he can buy one ship that he really wants, or multiple ships of the same type that he wants, or maybe, well, he's gonna have to grind out the
Carrier will be carrying the same things because
So
they know
what?
the player base wants certain things. So let's
what?
make sure there's variety by randomly injecting things.
That is the emerging gameplay that they really want to, you see, but they apparently don't want it. So I'm torn.
But no, besides the fact that
Now,
I'm
wait. In
completely,
all
you know,
seriousness,
still-
you're not saying that's a good idea, though, Yamiks, right? That it costs that much.
no.
No.
All
obviously,
right,
no,
I'm just
it's
making
sarcastic,
sure,
definitely.
right?
I mean, I'm still angry about the whole AX experimental stock not being available thing. It's just like, why would you do that? But
Unfortunately,
want
Gluttony,
some-
I kind of get that since they're unlockable. I kind of get it, and it is
But-
at least the least we can sell the AX modules that are not, that aren't unlockable, right? I'm not defending it. Not defending it.
But the thing is, the station is able to distinguish between someone who has unlocked those things and someone who has not.
I know,
so we're
I know,
not asking
I know.
for unlocked. We just want there to
I
be
know.
able to be stocked so we can run our unit. Anyway, I'm getting too passionate for that.
No, and I guess
so
all I'm saying is it didn't surprise me that we wouldn't be getting those unlocks.
Okay,
the
okay, I'm
modules,
okay
right?
with that.
That's what let me clarify. That's what I mean. I'm not at all saying it's a good thing or they should not have done that. I'm saying it doesn't surprise me that they did that way.
It's unfortunate, but yes, we want specific things that we can pick out that we want to sell because let's be honest, it's just another commodity that we want to sell.
Right,
Let
right,
us have
right.
the ability to pick and choose what's going to make us money, not a whole bundle of things that are just going to get backstocked with
Yep.
no way to sell them back.
And because of that, nobody's going to be able to do this. Nobody's going to be able to have a carrier that sells all these modules, right? So you're not going to have that. You're going to have, at best, a coalition of players who get together and, okay, I'll stock all the power plants, you stock all this, I'll stock all that, right? We'll all park next to each other in the same... That's the best that we as players would ever be able to do in those regards.
Right, and because we know, like, any longtime players knows that A is for performance, B
Of
is
course.
for module integrity, D wait, no, just CND or things like that.
Right. And as I said once, E is shit, right? C is actually supposed to be the best bang for the buck, right? And the only place I will that I
He's
actually
the middle child that no one pays
right,
attention to,
and
like in real
E
life.
sucks except for shield boosters. E-rated shield boosters, heavy duty, fucking rock because they weigh a seventh of A-rated and they still give you a shit
Right.
ton of shield. So I am a fan of E-rated shield boosters. But regardless, it's just. This whole
Yeah,
locking
it's-
us into a
it's-
pack and locking
bad,
this
it's
many
idiotic.
credits in is just, it makes it completely worthless. Again, nobody is going to do this, right? So, Scorb, we're kind of jumping in. You're in queue next. What do you got?
Right, okay. So I'm a business owner, right? Don't know how many people know that. I run a business. If I buy something from a reseller, who owns that stuff? Is it the reseller or is it my company?
Well, it depends.
Did I pay
It depends.
RRP?
Right?
Right. So if I bought a block of stuff that's normally a sale or return block, then they are still the property of the reseller. I sell them, and whatever's left at the end of the month, they get back. Right. So I'm not stuck with stock I can't sell. But that's for big stuff that's for like magazines and car parts and things like that, right? So we're not dealing at that level. We want to be able to buy the things that we want to sell. And at the reduced price, they belong to us now on our fleet carrier. So it should be then down to us how much of a markup, if at all, we want to sell them for. Maybe we want to sell stuff to our friends at a loss. I will take that on the chin. That's coming out of my credits. Here you go. We're going fighting
Credit
Thargoids.
transfer, yeah.
You've unlocked the Thargoid modules. I've unlocked the Thargoid modules. Guess what? You can now buy them from me. And yeah, all right. I'll have mates rates for that. For everybody else, I can bump the price up to whatever I want. I can fly my fleet carrier into the heart of Thargoid space with my Thargoid modules, which are unlocked because I've done them, and so does anybody who wants to buy them. And then they can buy them at a premium. Guess what? That's just commerce. That's just how business works. I make the profit on that, and yes, I might make a lot of money doing that. Wouldn't that be great? But no, I have to buy blocks of stuff at RRP and sell them to people who know better and can go on an aura and find them cheaper. They just have to jump a little bit. And jumping only costs time. So it's just this entire you can run a shop thing is dead. No one is going to use it. It's just dead.
Well, and they should. To your point, I kind of get why they're not consignment, right? Because you could argue that, well, I have to have them. You have to give me the inventory for me to have it, to me to be able to take it and sell it, right? But we transfer credits electronically and digitally in this game, right? We move things around faster than light all the time. That's the argument I actually made to Frontier, and I'm gonna segue in a second to Universal Cartographics. That we have faster than light communication for a lot of things. So letting me have the stock on my ship, and then when I sell it, I only get the if I've marked it up, I get the markup at that time. But making me shell out and carry the inventory, right? It's like where I live. I drive by every day. There's a gigantic RV reseller, right? They've got to have 20 or 30 million in inventory sitting on that lot. And I guarantee a friend of mine has worked in that industry, and he was pretty positive of this, that every bit of that inventory is on consignment from the manufacturer, because there's no way this little business that doesn't, I mean, those granted are pretty decent margins, right, is going to be able to afford to sit on $30 to $40 million worth of stock all year round. It's the same kind of thing. Right? Plater, let me cue you. I'm sorry.
Space Merge is in for Ryan.
I'm sorry?
Space Mage.
Oh, hey, Mage.
Is in for
I'm
Ryan.
here to replace for the griefer perspective.
Yeah, well, we're okay, Mage, but we're pretty much done with all that. I mean, that's fine, but yeah.
Yeah.
Plater, go ahead. Cue in for. Let's go back to UC.
Universal Cartographics. It's not on them. It should be. That's it. I don't think anyone's going to argue, are they? Like, there is literally no reason why. If you can sell exploration data at Explorer's Anchorage or somewhere in Colonia, why can't you sell it on a fleet carrier tight beam it back to the bubble, you get paid. Bosh, yeah, sure. Why not do a small little slice off the top, a bit like Interstellar Factors, if you really need to, but just put them on the bloody fleet carriers.
I mean, Bruce kind of mentioned it in passing that he believes Frontier wants players to return to the human bubble, so I'm assuming they're worried about first discovery right to people. I'm assuming that could be reasonable. How do we resolve that so Frontier will be more conducive to installing them, I wonder?
I mean, the rich in game get better stuff. It's like someone who has more money for rebuys probably is gonna spend more time doing PvP if that's what they're interested in, because they don't need to worry about it. So why would the rich not do better with exploring? Yes, elitism. Yamiks loves this.
So elitist. And Plater is so elitist. Actually, that was my first impression of him. Actually, he made one interesting video about stuff.
Oh, I got it wrong.
Yep. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah,
So
when I
how
sorry,
do
yeah,
we
Gluttony, you want to go? Yeah.
Yeah, how do we convince Frontier that it's fine to install them on carriers and not have people return to the human bubble? What exactly do they want out of people returning to the human bubble is what I'm confused by.
Well, I think to if I maybe jump in to try to answer that, when I chatted with Bruce today, because this absolutely came up, and I mentioned the fact that Steven on Burr Pit recently made that statement, right? That mainly the reason that it was an active choice that he didn't use the word force or make, but basically that's what this is. So I'm kind of paraphrasing here, right? But that they wanted commanders to need to, whatever word you want to use, come back to the bubble or back to human space to sell their data, right? And I told Bruce my response to that is, fuck you, horse shit. I don't care what you want. It's not your game. You're not the one playing it. This is what we want, or it should be, right? There are explorers that live in the black and don't ever come back. There's not a huge percentage that do that, but there's a lot, right? And especially when you're talking about now the thought of having this mobile carrier. We'll go back to Plater's car analogy, right? So I'm working with the manufacturer. This is this giant thing. You just told me it can jump 500 light years. Great. Mobile base. I can bring multiple ships with me. I can have a super fast Eagle or Courier for canyon running when I find a beautiful canyon planet. I can have a Crate Mark II outfitted for deep core mining when I need to go mine and get resources, right? I can have a Type 9 with me if I need to go mine asteroids for big stuff. I can bring a little ship with a rover so I can get a DBX down on planets, yet I've got my big giant ship to take with me, right? All of that is true, but now I still have all this data at risk. Now, he did ask, what would I think about some sort of system where you could store your data on the carrier, and then when you got back into human space, you would then basically sell it or drop it off or offload it or something like that. And I said, well, that would be better than nothing, right? I think that's a silly way to go about it. We have faster than light communications. I can multi-crew with someone, across the galaxy instantaneously. So we have some sort of subspace communication, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? So from a lore perspective, sense. And I said, sell it. I made clear. I said, look, I can't do this on this giant ship for the arbitrary decision that they want us to come back. That's not what people want. And I told Bruce, I think I even said, I don't fucking care what Frontier wants. I care what we want, right? And that's not what an explorer wants in this case.
Have they asked any of the explorers who were out there for any long period of time?
The answers are clearly no. I mean, that's, yeah.
Well, I know it's a rhetorical question.
Of course it is, right?
But I'm with you. What is the purpose of, because now we've got a Colonia, so you can have that. That's almost in the center anyway. You've got Explorers Anchorage at Saggy Teresa, and so you can sell your stuff there. So you're already got a hub in the center of the Milky Way. There's no bloody difference. It's like if you're storing data on a fleet carrier, an indestructible fleet carrier, what's the difference?
Right.
All you're buying is time. You're buying the time for another commander to go and scan that planet, that Earth-like, and then, I gotta get back to the bubble, quick, with my first discovery, which is just a badge of honor for the most part. It doesn't mean anything. You don't get special missions to your planet where you can then claim mining rights or exploit it for some other thing. That doesn't happen. It's just your name.
Essentially,
on that
it's not
planet.
Star Citizen. We don't sell land.
Right? No, and you know what I said? The one thing I said to Bruce, I said, if we had to store the data on our ship, the potential bummer there would be, I store my data, I scan something, somebody gets the first discover, right? And they go sell it before I can sell mine. But that's probably pretty low chance because most explorers living in the middle of nowhere kind of thing, right? Ultimately, I think that would be a better solution than the nothing we have now. But just put fucking universal cartographics on it. Just put it on there. There's no reason to not. Just put it on there. Fucking put it on there, Frontier. It's stupid.
That means you could use your carrier as a base. You can have all your mates who are explorers.
Absolutely.
Go out 200, 300 light years, 1,000 light years from it, and come back.
Imagine
and then
Deep
sell
Worlds
the data.
4. Imagine Deep Worlds 4. There's a fleet of fleet carriers that get together. Hey, you guys are beginners. We've got 10 fleet carriers that are all going to jump in formation. Everybody can land on the fleet carriers. We can support the expedition. Everything's ready. Everybody can sell their data here. That's it. Now, flip that. The way it is now, everybody's out there. Nobody's got their data. The griefers show up. They start killing explorers. They lose all their data, and they've been out there for all this time for no fucking reason. They could have landed on this, as you said, indestructible street carrier, right? That could absolutely have protected them. Sell their data there. It makes for wonderful emergent gameplay. That without it, is such an arbitrary. When Steven said that, and I told Bruce, I said, I don't mean to necessarily be quoting you guys and make you not want to say these things, and so I'm not calling Steven out in this, right? Because clearly he's just repeating the decision that was made at Frontier. My response to that decision is fuck you. Right? We want to use these things for this. There is no reason for that. It's just idiotic. Sorry, I'm supposed to be the Frontier shill now. I shouldn't be saying that.
You're
there
so
should not
fired.
be universal cartographics. Fuck all. When I say fuck you, I mean to the explorers, clearly. Right?
You can start writing them checks.
Right.
So if they're worried about the first
Totally.
discovery right issue, they could have just let people sell data on the carrier, and then when the carrier gets into range of the human bubble, it just automatically distribute the first right and whatnot if it's applicable. If that's
But that
what
would be
they're worried about.
complex. That'd be really complex to develop.
No, but I'm fine with, you know what? I mean, if you were storing it on the carrier, whoever turns it in first, they get the first discount. I mean, that's how it works now, right? Whoever gets to sell it first, gets it first, right? So if there was a storage mechanic and it worked that way, I mean, okay, it works that way, right? But why code around this? Why code this new thing where here I have to go in and say, okay, store my data, and then I get back to the bubble. Okay, load my data on my ship. Now I fly it over to Universal Cartography, and then I sell it there. Why add all that in when we can just add a menu choice that's universal cartographics? It works just like it does everywhere else. It just takes a tariff on it, right? If I'm selling my data, I lose it at a loss. I mean, I lose, again, as much as dude, if it was 50% even, I don't want it to be that much, right? But even if it was something big like that, who fucking cares? Right? It's just
Fleet carriers are megaships, right? You can go to a megaship with a docking bay and sell your data at Universal Cartographics. You can go to the Dove Enigma and sell at Universal Cartographics. My idea behind it, which is not backed up by law whatsoever, but maybe there is so much data, like petabytes of data from your scans, and you have to encrypt it and then type beam it into the bubble. Maybe that's why. When you get your data back, like here's the systems you've explored, that is just a summary of all that stuff. But all of the surfaces and all the things you found, that's a lot of data. So that's why you can't do it from your ship. But if you can do it from a megaship like the Dove Enigma, you should be able to do it from your fleet carrier because it's a megaship.
You know what? Question. Can you do this does the Gnosis have universal cartography?
Oh, good question.
It should.
If it does, this whole argument's fucking blown out of the water, if you ask me.
That's true.
It's a typical megaship, so
have a
it
look
should.
at
Do you
the,
know, Plater? If there's anybody from Canon listening, and I guess there probably someone is, if anybody from Canon listening can shout out and let us know if the Gnosis has universal cartography on it.
Anyone
Just
know which
looked
system
up
it's in
on
at
the
the moment?
wiki.
That's a
it
good
says
question
it's-
too. I don't know right now, Plater.
I can't even search it. So
Is it in the whole 70 sector or not?
Somebody'd have to jump in their Discord and ask for it. Okay, somebody just said, I'm going to assume this is correct. Somebody just pinged me, Kraken Sand just said the Gnosis does have universal cartography. And multiple
Right, there you go.
people are saying yes,
Orange
it does.
Spark
Yes,
confirms
yes.
it
Yep,
as
yep.
well,
Orange
so,
Spark's
like-
confirming it. Everybody's confirming it. So, dude, all right. Case over. Discussion ended. Fleet carriers should get universal cartography. Period. There's no way to
Okay,
defend
yeah.
this. Nobody thinks this is a good idea. In fact, I think that will be my next poll. Right, just because I'd like to see a poll that's
Yes.
100%. Right, should fleet carriers have universal cartography? Yes or no?
Now Exigeous, the pollster.
Oh, I've been doing polls like
Aren't the options
left
yes
and
or
right.
yes?
Right. I'm tempted to do
Yes,
it that
and
way.
duh.
Why are
Right.
you gay?
Oh boy.
There you
Easy.
go. Well, there's your poll.
Should fleet carriers have universal cart? I'm literally doing it right now.
No,
Cartography.
if
Doing
yeah,
it.
if Gnosis can have it, there's no reason why the fleet carrier cannot.
Yeah. On
Yes.
Plater stream, easy yes, saying
No.
yes, lots of yeses. I've never seen so many yeses than a porn
Okay.
film.
If you guys want to, if anybody's interested and
yes.
wants to go to my community tab and answer that one, I would love to see. Actually, here I'll just post the direct link to the poll. If and
It's
do
that
it right.
we know the answer.
I mean, yes, but we do know the
I mean,
answer.
come on.
Right. So, well, guys, this has been this has been great. This has been really enjoyable. Plater, thanks very much for joining us for this one. Thanks everybody for coming back. Sorry that Ryan had to duck out here pretty quickly. If there's nothing else that that we specifically have to cover, because we have gone for quite a while at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and say thank you. Why don't we, I'll go back through and let everybody maybe have some closing thoughts, if that's cool with all you guys. Plater, again, for whatever reason in Discord, you're at the top of the list. Why don't you start us off? Remind everybody who you are and your closing thoughts.
Well, I am Commander Plater, YouTuber, streamer. I do stuff, make videos, got Discord, I play games. When it comes to the beta, my final thoughts really need to be that if you're unhappy with something or you dislike a gameplay feature, find a constructive way to communicate that and put it on the forum. That's the most important thing. Make it constructive. If you scream, shout, throw your toys out the pram, no one will listen to you. They'll put you on the naughty step. But constructive feedback will always win.
Yes, I'm very well said. Absolutely agree, Plater. Scored?
All right, Commander Ascorbius. I make videos, try to do a bit of comedy here and there, do streaming as well, and I'll echo Plater. Only I will say, no, I won't. I'll echo Plater utterly. Yeah, make constructive criticism in the forums. Respect other people's opinions, because they do have different opinions. No one's got the correct perspective on anything in life ever. So that was a bold statement. So yeah, but yeah, be respectful and be respectful of Frontier as well. They're trying to do their jobs with this. If they don't listen, they don't listen. But at least you tried.
Yeah, no, great. Gluttony?
So this is from Gluttony Fang, founder of the Anti-Xeno Initiative. Of course, my opinion on fleet carrier is definitely more tilted towards what its applications towards target combat and target content can have, but in general, the overall community's reaction based on our poll and also obviously your poll as well, Exegers, that is, there's much change that we would like to see made. So we definitely, of course, like everyone else, encourage everyone to make their voice heard on the forum or through other channels. And yeah, let's make the fleet carrier something better than it currently is.
Yeah. Yamiks?
Right. I'm your resident Latvian person who does critique, commentary, and whatnot else, right? And sometimes a silly video too. You know what? Let's make this interactive. You 10 words in the chat. Describe yours truly if you want. Let's give the winner an internet cookie. Go nuts. That aside, the major issue that I definitely see with the fleet carriers is absolutely the fucking upkeep. It causes every fucking single issue that fleet carriers really could have, and the negatives. Everything else can be sort of hand waved away as this is a big trophy and that's what it's supposed to be and nothing else. Well, okay, maybe jump times and the fuel costs also are kind of an issue, but again, that's just a matter of balancing. But yeah, upkeep is definitely the issue that causes essentially explorers to not have fleet carriers as an actually useful feature, because obviously developers are not so keen on putting in universal cartographics. And why do we need that? Well, to get money, to do the upkeep. So the upkeep is the real cause for need, I would say, for universal cartographics. But that's even, yeah, that's surface level thinking still. So there's plenty to say, but fuck whoever decided that we need upkeep. Like, literally, fuck him.
Well,
Yeah. Or her. I'm not being
Them.
biased there.
Yeah, them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pejorative.
No,
them.
attack chopper. It's gonna be an attack chopper. There you go.
Yamiks is an equal opportunity fucker.
Oh boy.
Yes.
No,
yes.
I'm a beater.
And I did say to chat, let's see, like in 2 words, who is Yamiks? There's some good one in there. Horse beater, angry pigeon. I think my favorite is from Jay Rents, insane Latvian. He's the insane Latvian. I think
pigeon. Oh, that's
I like that.
got
Exegious
Scorbus.
beater. That's a pretty good one, right?
Scorbus Big Spoon.
Yes. Sexual spaceman. There you go, Yamiks, right?
Oh,
Right. Yes. So, and I'll close this out. I'm Commander Exegious. I make boring ass videos that show you how to play this grindy ass game in a hopefully a little bit less grindy way, or at least efficient way. And I want to also give a quick shout out and thank you to all of my moderators who've been on the stream helping out. I've seen you guys having to do a whole lot, not having to do with much from what I've seen with chat. It's been pretty good, but I did want to say a big thanks to Maniac, to Storm, to Jaffo. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody that's been helping. If I am, please forgive me for forgetting. But thank you guys, you've been great. Also, as I have a Corvette trying to mate with me apparently. If we can do it, I just had the idea. I saw a couple vets landed on mine and thought that looked cool. If there's 8 people in vets that are listening that are in beta and they want to come over to Epsilon Indy and try to help me get a picture of all vets on the carrier, thought that might look pretty cool. If you got small and medium class ships in the area too, that'd be great just to get it fully loaded with ships. I'm gonna unmute everybody from the live streaming channel here. Maybe we'll jump up to lobby and let folks chat here. But again, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for those that joined me and have maybe been with me for 4.5 hours now. Joined for the chat with Bruce. That was actually a lot of fun. I do want to say a thank you to Frontier for that and for the fact that they are starting to engage with us, right? It's little steps, but they're very positive little steps. I really hope if anybody Frontier's listening that you guys keep that up. It's what we've all been claiming for a long time, and being able to actually tell Bruce in real time today with people listening my feedback and the reason for feedback like we discussed today, I think was a big deal, right? I don't think that should be diminished, and I hope you guys do more of it. With that, thanks to everybody who joined me, and thanks Plater for having us on your channel as well. And I hope to catch everybody here soon. Thanks everybody.
Right.
Remember.
Take care, everyone.
Fly dangerously.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Yep. Fly dangerously.